Hello there, very good morning to you. The government promises to get Britain working again.
They're calling it the employment reforms of a generation, with over £200 million put towards getting under 25s back in work.
But with youth employment on a downward spiral, is that going to be enough to buck the trend?
We will provide those opportunities and young people will have a responsibility to take them up. And you know what? I think they will. Young people are desperate to work. They're desperate to get skills. We'll fulfil our side of the bargain to make that happen.
And we'll be holding the government to account on this later on this morning when we speak to the Work and Pensions Minister.
2 Britons are still missing in the Red Sea as rescuers resume a search for a sunken tourist boat that sank there.
Vladimir Putin's forces launched one of their biggest drone attacks on Ukraine yet, in a sign that Russian aggression is ramping up.
Yet Labour sees fit to shave £500 million off defence spending. This morning we debate whether the government is too weak to protect Britain.
Black Friday or Black Fraud Day? The truth about banking a festive deals revealed, as 9 in 10 offers turn out to be cheaper at other times of the year.
The decay of dentists, with the vast majority not accepting new NHS patients. This morning we investigate why that is.
Morning. Plenty of sunshine around, but a few showers for some of us. Generally calmer than it has been before. Some very wet and windy weather pushes into the south later on. I'll have the details coming up.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Tuesday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, an interesting one we're talking about this morning. This is the biggest reform to employment for a generation. Now, this is news to me because I didn't know there was an employment problem, particularly amongst younger people.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was young, oh my goodness me, it was massive unemployment amongst youngsters. But then I think things went away. And a lot of that to do with foreign workers working here. So now the government's waking up and saying, oh, hold on a minute, you're going to have to work.
Well, a lot of it is this mental health crisis and post-COVID, you know, this huge inactivity in our economy. Unlike any other G7 nation, we seem to be languishing, and the young in particular being hit by this epidemic of mental health problems. So the government absolutely determined to crack down on it. And according to the Work and Pensions Secretary, Liz Kendall, she will be unveiling their long-awaited back-to-work plan today.
A youth guarantee will see unemployed 18 to 21-year-olds lose any benefits if they refuse to work.
Noticeably absent is any mention of a crackdown on sickness benefits, which are widely expected to be brought in next year.
Well, leading the Conservatives to label this whole plan nothing more than rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Well, let's get some analysis on all of this with our GB News political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Good morning to you, Catherine. Is this rearranging the deck chairs, or are there root and branch changes that are likely to get these youngsters out of their bedrooms and into the workforce?
Good morning. Well, the government say that they're going to get Britain working. Much easier said than done, of course. They're announcing this 240 million today. They're largely focusing on young people between 18 and 21. They're saying they're going to give them apprenticeships, opportunities. They're going to help them into work. And if they don't take the help and advice and potential jobs that are offered to them, then they will cut their benefits. And we do know that about 1 in 8 young people of that age are not learning, and they're not earning either. So there are many, many young people sitting at home and the system is not working for them at the moment. So lots of promises, but the welfare bill is simply out of control, and what this doesn't do is really much at all to address that. A lot of people now on long-term sick leave, 2.8 million people That is costing us £65 billion a year. That's projected to rise to £100 billion by the end of the Parliament. And that's sort of double the pre-COVID level. So it's costing the government a massive amount, and plans for sort of fundamental welfare reform and the sort of stick rather than the carrot. The carrot, we're seeing a bit of that today, but the stick, that has been pushed to next year. So the Conservatives saying, look, you know, this is just tinkering round the edges. Frankly, the welfare bill is massive. They don't think this is going to do much to bring it down.
Meanwhile, can we talk about the beleaguered Chancellor? She's been laying low for a few weeks, made an appearance yesterday at the CBI annual conference. Not the warmest of receptions, I think it's fair to say. Businesses saying that they're being milked dry as part of her budget. Has she boxed herself in again, though, by saying there will be no more tax rises? And lots of people in the public sector saying, does this mean austerity again in 2026?
Well, she has. But then, of course, in some ways, the government appeared to box themselves in before the election. They said then that they had no plans for tax rises beyond the very limited tax rises they had announced. They said that they were going to get growth, and that was what was going to fund public services. And then, lo and behold, they've come in, they've put taxes up by 40 billion. They've borrowed a whole lot more money. So Rachel Reeves has now said to businesses, she got a very cool reception at the CBI yesterday. Look, the budget that I've just done, I'm not going to repeat that. That's it, so to speak. Well, that might be good news for businesses who are feeling sort of battered and bruised by the reforms to workers' rights, to the national insurance increases and so on. But that potentially means that in a couple of years' time, she's going to have to make real terms cuts to departments, perhaps justice, perhaps education, cuts that really departments will say are unaffordable. They already feel squeezed. The NHS is the big winner. But she's saying government departments will have to live within their means. They say they're not going to go back to austerity, but some people will be wondering if that's what's coming down the line.
Thank you very much indeed. That sets us up for the day. And our poll of the day, we are asking, should Britons be stripped of benefits if they refuse to work? OK, you have your say. We'll be bringing you the live results throughout the programme today, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And the final result comes when? That's
in Martin Daubney's show, and we also have our own little summary of breakfast audiences and their views just after 9 o'clock. If you'd like to cast your vote early, gbnews.com/poll to do so.
In the latest attack on Ukraine overnight, Russia sent a drone towards Kyiv, leading to raid alerts right across the whole country. It's thought to be one of the most significant air attacks since the invasion 2 years ago.
Well, meanwhile, Ukraine's neighbour Romania has seen the surprise lead of pro-Putin candidate Kalin Georgescu during the first round of their election. So could Putin be set to gain another European ally? And does that give him more standing going into potential peace talks?
Well, here with that and more, former British Army spokesperson Major Michael Shearer. Major, what do you think? What's your assessment?
Well, there's no question that Putin is now in a rush to deal himself the best possible hand for any negotiations going forward. Let's not forget that the United States will have a new president in 55 days' time. And I think what Putin is now trying to do is make sure that he's sitting pretty with all the cards for any negotiations going forward.
Well, Tobias Ellwood, who used to be the chair of the Defence Select Committee here, but he's an outspoken voice, isn't he, on all matters military and international affairs, says that we are underprotected here in the UK. Would you agree? You know, there's been talk over the weekend about the need for things like an Iron Dome system, similar to the one Israel has, to protect themselves. Are we entering a new and far more dangerous period?
Yes, I'm afraid Tobias's assessment is spot on. Basically, the West went to sleep when the Berlin Wall came down in '89, and then the Soviet Union broke up in '91. We all spoke about this peace dividend, And quite frankly, there is no such thing as a peace dividend. When people knew that their freedoms were really perilous back in the 60s because they'd just come out of 2 wars, our effort by way of budget to defence was 7%. Now, that tells you how seriously we took our defence at that time. Now it is a measly 2.3%. The noise coming from the Treasury and elsewhere in government is that they will lift it to 2.5 when they're ready. 2.5 isn't enough. It's nowhere near enough.
You know, Major, listening to Isabel ask the question there about maybe we should have an Iron Dome deterrent the way Israel has, it's actually then quite scary to think we don't have something like that. And I suppose you only find out you need these things when they're called into action.
Well, I mean, that is right. But I would just add to that that old trope, if you want peace, prepare for war. And preparing for war is an expensive business. We do now. I would call upon the Prime Minister to put our country on a war footing. Now, what does that mean? Essentially, it means that you have to have budget sacrifices to everything that everybody thinks the money should go to. The NHS, cut back on that. Education, cut back on that. All the other competing departments need to recognize that right now, our most important department is that of defense.
Yeah, I think what's really scary about it, when you look at the lack of flood defences, for instance, over the weekend, nothing there to prevent what happened over the weekend. And then you think, you look at this war situation and you think, where on earth does this country spend its money? How does it prioritise things? And we're going to have to change our thinking, surely, as the Major said.
Yeah, and I suppose the concern is what form any sort of ramping up might take from Putin, who's made it clear that he's rewritten his nuclear mandate. He's not afraid to use it now that British missiles have been used within Russia's territory, as well as those American ones. But, are we more likely to see things like cyber attacks or cables, connecting electricity or whatever it might be under seabeds? What kind of, or maybe it's all the above that we can expect from now on?
Well, there are 2 issues there. There is the nuclear threat, which I would suggest is not going to happen. Is 2 principal allies, namely China when it comes to general thought on the politic of the world, and India being its destination for oil. They have both told, or cautioned, I should say, Putin not to go anywhere near the nuclear piece. So I think at some level we can relax on that. Having said that, we have to take him serious, and therefore we need to prepare for it. The other things that you mentioned is what is known as activities within the grey zone. And that is everything that will disrupt a country's infrastructure in the NHS, in energy, etc., just as far as it can irritate and cause damage just short of war. So there are 2 things there.
Yeah.
Well, Major Michael Shearer, always fascinating to hear what you have to say. If a little bit frightening there, maybe for us all to go and think about. Appreciate your thoughts.
I do think we have a tendency as a nation to kind of bury our heads in the sand. I mean, just last week we had a Russian naval ship sailing through the Channel between France and Britain. Didn't make any headlines. What on earth was it doing there? And yet we all just carry on arguing about things at home, and actually things have never been more dangerous overseas. What are we doing about it? Are we alive to those threats? Let us know what you think about this morning. gbnews.com/your say.
Well, maybe we should donate our Great British Giveaway prize to the defence budget, but we're not. It's going to you instead. £50,000 tax-free. It could be yours.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British Giveaway.
And a front page banner on the Times this morning asks, are 4 coffees a day too much? As Miss Isabel is on.
Number 2.
Number 2.
That'll be my last one. I swear I'll switch to tea after this. I only ever have 2 coffees and really early because I'll tell you why. When I was a young reporter, I went to the doctor saying, I think I'm having a heart attack. I don't know what's wrong with me. I was standing in the shower this morning and I nearly knocked over myself with palpitations. Turns out 5 coffees a day wasn't a good idea. So I've cut back massively, 2 max.
But you're having 2 max, then you're having tea, which is caffeine
1
again.
little tea, and then that's it for the day. I ease myself
And then
down.
what does it do? Does it make you all funny during the day? Do you get like all irritable?
No, that's just natural. It just comes without the caffeine.
Just you.
Yeah,
well,
or the lack of sleep.
Anyway, so that is the question. If you are knocking back coffee today, I tell you, a revelation about me. I have never drank a cup of coffee in my
I just
whole
can't
life.
understand that.
In my whole life.
And you don't drink alcohol, so what do we have in common when it comes to drinks? Nothing.
What do I have that stimulates me? That's what you're asking.
Coca-Cola. And Lucozade. How many of those have you had this morning?
I've had one. I've had one.
6:16. How many people have had a Coca-Cola at that time? It's much better to have coffee.
I always feel very good after it. I feel,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, I'm not surprised. And then you'll have a sugar drop.
Yeah, well, that might be the end of that. Coming into the newsroom, let's have a look at the stories that we've got for you.
2 Britons are still believed to be missing after a boat capsized in the Red Sea off the coast of Egypt yesterday. 44 people were on the vessel. In total, 16 are still missing. The yacht had set off early on Monday morning on a 5-day diving excursion, but the alarm was raised shortly after.
The clean-up after Storm Bert continues. The Environment Secretary Steve Reid warns more flooding is likely this week. The storm, which swept across England and Wales over the weekend, brought torrential rain, flooding and 80-mile-an-hour winds.
The former German Chancellor Angela Merkel releases her memoir Freedom today. The political titan served as her country's first female chancellor for a total of 16 years until stepping down in 2021. The book examines her early life in East Germany, where she learnt to speak fluent Russian, as well as her political rise.
A 2-day hearing starts today into the legal claims made by Prince Harry against associated newspapers. The Duke of Sussex and other high-profile people, including his close friend Elton John, are suing the publications for alleged breaches of privacy. The Duke himself is not expected to be present at the proceedings.
Lots of interest still in the weather. The Environment Secretary yesterday in the Commons saying expect more flooding this week, which is obviously terrible news for all those people who are already trying to deal with that. So let's get a look now from Alex Burkle at that all-important forecast.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your GB News breakfast weather coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there will be some heavy rain pushing across southern parts later and as we go into tomorrow, but for many, today is actually going to be a drier, much calmer day than we've had of late. A good deal of sunshine around. Yes, there are some showers around first thing, especially towards the southeast. A lot of these clearing away, and elsewhere there are some showers coming in across some northern, northwestern parts, but many places staying dry and many places having lots of sunny skies. It is going to be relatively chilly for some of us, particularly towards the north. Temperatures struggling a little bit here. Further south, just about getting into double figures. Now, as we go through the end of the day, there will still be some clear skies around. A few showers continuing in areas exposed to the wind that's coming in from the north. Here we're likely to see a couple of showers skirting in around some parts of northern Scotland and some strong gusty winds still towards the northeast as well. Elsewhere, a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and perhaps some feeding into parts of northwest England and North Wales too, but many places ending the day on a largely fine and clear note. However, we then have some clouds, some rain, some stronger winds pushing in from the southwest. This is due to an area of low pressure that is set to track its way along the English Channel, bringing some very heavy rain across southern counties in particular as we go overnight and into Wednesday. Likely to see totals building up, could be some difficult driving conditions first thing tomorrow morning. Further north, away from the cloud and the rain, it's going to be a chilly night, a cold night, some frost, some fog, some freezing fog patches, and these could take quite a while to clear as we go through tomorrow. Otherwise, we will say goodbye to the cloudy, wet weather that we start off with tomorrow in the south. That pushes away towards the east, so many places turning drier, perhaps a bit brighter here. Further north, the best of the sunshine, 1 or 2 showers perhaps, but generally dry. Still temperatures a little bit on the low side. After a cold, frosty start, it is going to feel chilly, despite the fact that there will be some sunny skies. See you later.
Woo! A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's a time for the vegan community to get together, as well as an opportunity for non-vegans to try going plant-based.
Well, joining us now is some of her delicious hummus. We both love hummus. This is a great thing. This is the founder of Chickpea, Hannah McCollum. Hannah, lovely to meet you. And you've brought in some of your beautiful products in front of you here. So can you talk us through some of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a range of chilled hummus, and then latest to the range are a new ambient snack pot, which is a fridgeless hummus that doesn't require refrigeration. But I started Chickpea because of my love for hummus, but also sustainability and reducing food waste and encouraging people to be more plant-based without saying go vegan.
Does normal, say, traditional hummus have anything that's not vegan appropriate in it?
Not really.
No,
I think
it's always chickpeas, olive oil, maybe some other bits.
Yeah, lemon juice, aquafibre or water to help with consistency, garlic, and rapeseed oil or olive oil.
And there's a bit of a misconception about veganism that I hear a lot, where people say, "Look, I'm not a vegan. I love my steaks. I'll just get out of there now." But but there's a misconception that you don't get the protein, you don't get the fats, and you're kind of just eating processed salads and fake meat and things. But that's not quite the case, especially with chickpeas, right?
Yeah, I think protein is really important, and actually a lot of people think I need a certain amount of fish every week or meat, but actually a lot of the fish and meat that you're eating are eating higher protein foods, so algae, seaweed, pulses, all these types of plant-based foods. For me, veganism is like you could have a delicious rye seeded bread with just loads of roasted vegetables, seeds, tahini sauce on top.
That sounds
and there's nothing beige in there at all.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Are you good at your oral hygiene?
I am.
Quite fastidious at cleaning your teeth?
Yes, yeah, but
good to know.
I tell you, I had a breakage.
All right.
A while back.
Chipped a tooth?
No.
Oh.
Crack.
Oh.
It was quite major. But the poison is, I was just reading about how Christmas pets are going to die eating Christmas dinners. You shouldn't feed cats and dogs Brussels sprouts and all that sort of thing. But teeth, what are we talking about? Yes, so anyway, I have to get this work done on my mouth, and it's £8,600. Honestly, I was stunned. I said, yes, right, I'll go and have a think about that. And where this breakage is, it's not really affecting me. And you can't.
The reality is, you can afford it. But for ordinary people, no, I know it's not.
You can afford it.
No one can. But I mean, you'll manage. You'll sort it eventually, whatever.
I could sell my body.
Exactly.
Yes, I could.
Average person on the street cannot afford that kind of dentistry. And that's the way it's gone, isn't it?
It's horrendous.
Labour promised to reform our dentist crisis in this country. A quarter of us haven't even been to a dentist in over 2 years because there's so few NHS dentists.
Is that the excuse?
I think so, yeah.
My mother always told us stories that, you know, I've never been to a dentist. I don't need to go to see a dentist, everything. I used to think how brilliant that is, thinking her whole mouth was perfect or whatever. Then she reached about 75
they all fell out.
80, and basically they all fell out. And they came and they said, we're going to have to take your teeth out or whatever.
No.
It was awful, and it was the difference from her becoming an old person when the teeth
got to look after your teeth when you're young. It's all these things. It's prevention rather than cure, isn't it? So if it is on your to-do list, maybe try and make an appointment ASAP. But a warning, you could be waiting a while. Only 5% of dentists are actually accepting new NHS patients.
OK, so despite ample promises by the Health Secretary, let's remind us of what that was. This is what he said, this is what he promised.
Has a fully costed, fully funded plan for investment and reform to get NHS dentistry and the wider NHS back on its feet and fit for the future. And that's why at the next general election, people need to give change a chance and vote Labour so that we have the NHS back on its feet, fit for the future, there for us when we need it, never having to worry about the bill.
That's what he said to us on this very programme. So where are we at?
Well, let's find out. Let's speak to the dentist, Vanessa Creven, who joins us. I mean, that sounded great. It had all the music, all the promises. Day one, we were told, where Streeting was going to get to grips with this dentistry crisis. Is that what's happening?
Well, unfortunately not. We're seeing a lot of, as you mentioned, delayed treatment, non-treatment. And I think that you have to remember that it takes 5 years to train a dentist, right? To get them through college and then into the VT training. So unfortunately, none of this can be done overnight. And we are seeing a lot of long-term issues. Like Eamonn mentioned, his mother hadn't seen the dentist in a number of years and then needed a number of teeth taken out. And so we're seeing people not go for treatment early enough and then leading to more extensive treatments like root canals and extractions that are more severe but also more costly.
But Vanessa, I always look at this and think, why is there a problem? My view is, surely the state should sponsor anyone who wants to be a dentist and pay for their training in return for that person signing up to work for the NHS for a number of years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever, then they can do what they want. Why don't we have a system like that?
Well, that would be an excellent solution and definitely something that we could look at in the long term. I think that when you think about people who are going into dentistry, you know, I know a lot of my colleagues and stuff went to Australia to travel and to explore straight after college as well.
And avoid paying back the debt.
Yeah, and we're, you know, the rising population, I suppose we're probably just not producing as many dentists to target and to treat us as a nation efficiently.
And are we quite good as a nation? I mean, the Americans always think of Brits, don't they, for their bad teeth. We've come a long way since that. We're much better, but could we be better still?
Absolutely. I think everyone could be better, right? We know that only almost 1 in 8 of us floss every day. So flossing is so important when it comes to your overall health, but your oral health. Brushing, you know, twice a day with a fluoride-based toothpaste would be amazing. And I often say, yes, it can be very difficult to get into a dentist these days, but a lot of your oral care is achieved at home by using the right products, by just doing the small and simple things every day does make a big difference long term.
And what about if you can't get to see your dentist? What about going to see your hygienist regularly as a kind of supplementary alternative? I mean, although I have to say, the last time I went to my hygienist, it was 80 quid. Which is not cheap, but it's good to maintain your oral hygiene.
Absolutely. And a hygienist is an excellent alternative, especially for those cleans that we normally recommend every 3 to 6 months. Having your teeth cleaned will help to reduce the overall bacterial load in your mouth. And there's a lot of research now to say that your oral health has a huge implication to your overall health. We're seeing poor oral health linked to heart disease, coronary heart disease, more uncontrolled diabetes, pregnancy outcomes. So there's a long range of systemic factors that are affected by your oral health.
Do you floss every day?
Of course I floss every day. I'm a dentist. No, I'm joking. No, once you realise how important flossing is, you will floss.
My hygienist, when I went recently, was so mean to me, so mean to me. Not only did she make me bleed, and it was agony, and I was like this, I was doing my labour breathing. I was like, in between. It was awful. But she said to me, you have to floss every day. And I come out, and for a week afterwards, I floss every day, and then it's sort of every other day. You get the idea.
I agree with you. I think flossing's painful and time-consuming and fiddly and whatever. But I do think, Vanessa, there's it can be a class thing or an ambition thing. Re your teeth. In the TV industry, in the entertainment industry that we work in, oh my goodness me, everyone's teeth are fantastic. And these are choices, whether people are on screen or off screen, these are choices people make in that area where they mix socially. And to have white teeth and straight teeth, you were talking about the Americans. I mean, so often Brits would have teeth that are twisted and whatever, but people now increasingly get those sorted out, that people have a straight set of teeth in their mouths. So it can be a style thing, an image thing, can't it?
Well, it can be a huge link to confidence, right? There's so much research to say that the smile is the first thing someone looks at when they look at your face. So especially in that industry, I feel like confidence is so important. So a healthy smile and a maintained smile might give you that added bit of confidence.
But
when
our dentist,
Sorry, just talking back to the floss tips. A really good tip for floss is you can floss at any stage throughout the day. And there are these tiny little floss picks that you can pop in your handbag or your bag. And as you're sitting in traffic, you can just pop them through a few teeth. And isn't that a great way to integrate flossing into your day?
Oh, I know.
But listen, Vanessa, I used to use mouthwash quite a lot until my friend and colleague beside me here tells me that I was killing myself with a particular colour of the one that I was using. And I was looking at it this morning and there was half a bottle of it sitting there, and I'm not going to touch it again.
Well, you can use it, I would say, I'm not a dentist, so you correct me if I'm wrong. I would say, use it for a night out or whatever, but not every day, because you've got to have some healthy bacteria in your mouth. Is that right?
Well, it's all dependent on using alcohol-free mouthwash, right? So we always encourage you to use alcohol-free as opposed to any alcohol-containing mouthwash, because that is linked with oral cancer. A great use of mouthwash is using it kind of throughout the day as opposed to morning and evening when you're brushing your teeth, because you want those active ingredients from your toothpaste to sit on the tooth and almost embed into it. But using mouthwash maybe around lunchtime is a great alternative.
Okay. I was just going to ask a moment ago whether the kind of boom in cosmetic dentistry has been to the detriment of NHS dentists, that actually it's more lucrative for those dentists to go and do the veneers and all of that.
£600.
Exactly. Than actually doing, the kind of little old lady's teeth like Eamonn's mum.
A little old man like me.
I think there's a myriad of reasons why the NHS may be struggling to retain some dentists. It's a very stressful job. The waiting times are very long, and then when you do see those patients, they might need extensive treatment. Sometimes working privately, you can be prevention versus cure, right? So you can see earlier, you can treat earlier, and ultimately then have a far more positive experience with your patient, as opposed to only treating when someone's in pain.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right, Vanessa, the idea of a positive experience. We've got to change people's attitudes with that and whatever, but people are making decisions how to use their money and what to do, and it is a problem without NHS dentists. But thank you for your opinions and talking about this today. It'll get people talking. Vanessa, where are you from? I'm trying to work out your accent.
I'm actually from Ireland.
I can tell you're from Ireland, but where in Ireland? You're just, I'm thinking, I can't pin it down.
I'm from Galway in the west of Ireland.
Are you? Do you go back to Galway?
I actually live in Galway.
Do you?
Wow.
Are you in Galway this morning?
Yes, yeah.
How fantastic is that?
That's amazing.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Donna lives in Galway as well, the singer.
Absolutely, she does. Not far from here, actually.
Yeah, I've been to her house, you see. There you are.
Oh, well, next time you're...
Could have called in to see you.
That's it. Next time you're over.
Okay.
Maybe she could sort your tooth out for you and do your mate's rate.
Yeah, maybe do me a deal. Thank you, Vanessa. Appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. It's a small world, isn't it?
It's a small world, especially in Ireland.
When you talk to people, then you realise somebody knows somebody and whatever.
And your accent gets thicker as well.
Well.
Right, we're going to have some lovely smiles from Claire Muldoon and Alex Armstrong. They're coming in just a moment to go through the papers in Making the News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M8 in North Lanarkshire is closed westbound from junction 6A at Airdrie to 8 for the M73 after an accident. A number of roads remain closed across parts of Wales and England because of flooding. A number of train services remain suspended too. Powys, the A490 is closed each way off the A483 at Coed Dinas. In Oxfordshire, the A361 is closed off junction 11 of the M40 at Banbury. In Wiltshire, the A363 is closed each way along Market Street and Town Bridge in Bradford and Avon. Also in Wiltshire, the A420 is closed along Ivy Lane in Chippenham, and in Somerset, the A37 is closed northbound into Ilchester. And train services in Devon are suspended between Exeter Central and Oakhampton, also between Exeter Central and Barnstable because of a fallen tree on the line.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The BBC has been branded jaw-achingly stupid, not by me, by the way, over its decision to cast black and ethnic minority actors in the historical drama of Wharf Hall. Now, is this a forward-thinking idea or nonsense? Are we rewriting history? Henry, I mean, the Tudors were real-life people. They were pretty much white.
Well, some of these shows depart so much from historical context anyway that maybe it doesn't make any difference. But I think just generally we've got a problem in this country with portraying history in its correct sense. You can't change history. And I think it's about the motivation. If the motivation is to sort of to some sort of, you know, to make a political point, then I think it's wrong.
What I find kind of tedious about people finding this instant jaw-droppingly stupid, Jesus was portrayed by somebody who's half Slovak and half Irish. Moses was portrayed in the Exodus by an Englishman. So, you know, same with Anne Boleyn, you know, was portrayed by Natalie Portman, who is Jewish. So if this is the one thing that's getting people angry, then there's something deeper within that rage, because I think Hollywood's been doing that, where people...
When you say something deeper, do you think there is a hidden racism and people are complaining about this?
Well, I think for some, maybe yes. I can't speak for everybody because this news dropped today. I don't know why they are thinking that it's egregious, but there absolutely must be some underlying racism if this is the only one that you're upset about.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're delighted now to welcome Alex Armstrong and Claire Muldoon, and they've been going through the stories making the news. And the Storm Alex, guys.
Storm Alex?
Storm Alex.
That is, it is sometimes a storm.
Storm Bert, yes. Alex is now going to tell us about Storm.
That's right.
Bert. Well, what do you think?
Well, it's obviously absolutely horrendous what's happened. Massive flooding across the country, homes devastated. The Daily Mirror's got a 2-page spread here of people's homes completely up to their ankles. I mean, you can see Northampton completely covered. Wales got battered extremely badly, and hundreds of people are obviously being left
to struggle through it at the moment. I know the government is getting in as much aid as possible, but one of the parts of Wales had a massive landslide as well, and I know there's been some deaths as a result of it. I don't think anyone was anticipating the storm to be as bad as this, and I think that's what shocked people.
And what shocks me is that there's absolutely no defence, no concept.
Yeah.
Nobody sits and talks about this. Isn't just a storm. This is climate change. And when are we going to get a grip of it and say, let's start spending our national budget on proper defences?
Yeah, I actually completely agree with you, Eamonn. And there's many parts of the country that are still not getting the investment they need in order to protect themselves from flood defences. You can see these poor people's homes here absolutely ruined, and the local councils and everyone else are worrying about how many bins you've got, where they're not worrying about how their homes are going to be defended.
Well, the First Minister for Wales was saying on Sunday, look, this is climate change. I'm so sorry. We are getting to the point now where these storms are getting worse and worse, and we simply cannot protect you in the way that we would like to. And that's quite shocking to hear from a leader, that basically things are getting worse and we can't do anything about it.
You see, I take issue with that. Portsmouth Council have spent millions and millions and millions and millions on building massive new sea defences on the water. So it is doable. You need the political will to do it and not to spend your money in the wrong areas. That's the problem here. And of course, the government have also got to get a grip on this.
Well, I just think, it's the timing of it is horrific as well. Before Christmas, it couldn't get any worse for some families. And I think you make very, very good points, Alex. But I think that's also down to the devolved powers that local authorities have and their lack of ability to, budget for things
so many
and actually
bankrupt.
Yeah, exactly. And to have no fiscal ruling at all, and to have nothing set aside to help vulnerable people, to help people who work in the area day in, day out. And for this to happen, I think it's abominable.
Did you see that footage of a tractor driving down a high street yesterday, and it was flooded sort of halfway up to the shop windows, and the tractor came through and caused this kind of huge wave, which then splashed and caused a mini tsunami, and apparently the police were called. I mean, God knows what the tractor was up to, but very stressful for everyone.
Absolutely devastating. You see the pictures, right? The issue I have is that politicians are so safe here in London. We don't experience this kind of stuff, so it's just not necessary for them to think about it. This bubble has got really, really severe. We need to send our politicians, all of them should be going out to see this. That will start changing minds, but they don't get the exposure to it.
Should they be all sent out to COP? Or, as you say, the practicalities of seeing the devastation caused by all of this?
Well, the problem, I think, with the COP thing is that the whole debate has become about reparations, and none of the leaders want to go because they don't have any cash to spend on their own defences, let alone reparations to these poor and more impacted countries. So as a result, nobody does anything.
Well, COP's the new Davos, isn't it? It's just people get together and they discuss things that will affect us, but don't do anything about it.
It's an echo chamber, isn't it? And it's become too political about many other things. And I saw hundreds of celebrities were flown out there. You think, well, if you're worrying about climate change, get on Zoom. I know it's important that people have conferences, but you've just flown thousands of private jets halfway across the world to go and talk about climate change. It's insane.
The worst people are us media. I laugh at, they're going around, they're in, whether it was Pontypridd yesterday, whether it is Davos or wherever we're going, and they're standing there and saying, and this is the situation caused by people travelling with, and I'm thinking, why can't you be doing that in studio? I don't need you standing in
I always thought that when I was sent to flood stories. Why do I need to be here for 14 hours repeating myself?
Well, it must be a pretty dreadful thing to do. I've never done it.
Almost got blown away last week on GBNews.
Can we move on to this CBI tax Rachel Reeves story? And I just want to read a joke that I was sent yesterday, because I think it will make you all laugh.
Kill it now.
It is with great sadness that I have to mention the loss of a few local businesses as a result of Rachel Reeves' recent budget announcement. A local bra manufacturer has gone bust. A submarine company has gone under. A manufacturer of food blenders has gone into liquidation. A dog kennel has had to call in the retrievers. And a company supplying paper for origami enthusiasts has folded. Anyway,
folded.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. So Rachel Reeves had a conference yesterday with the heads of the head of businesses, and apparently she was met with a very, very stony silence. Now, why weren't Downing Street sending out messages like this when she made the budget? No more tax rises. There's been no positive comms from Downing Street at all since they took administration, and I think that's really poor. They need to give us a bit of hope. We need to see light at the end of the tunnel.
They need to lie.
Well, no, I don't think that. They know what apparently they've got a plan, Eamonn.
Well, they would
They're
have
going to fix the foundation.
They would have had a plan to have more tax rises in the next 5 years. Now they realise, bloomin' heck, we can't do it. So now they ease this out. It's all lies.
Well, the
All
I have
lies.
concluded that if they're saying there's no tax rises and businesses saying that all of your measures mean there's going to be no growth, what's the answer? It's cuts.
It's
and
cuts.
they've concluded that there'll be austerity from
Yes.
2026, which
Yes.
would be ironic.
There'll have to be, because what happens when you lose the businesses and you lose all the millionaires leaving the country is the tax revenues go down, not up. So you've got to have a sensible approach to this. And, you know, we've seen, was it the pound has gone up down 7%. We're seeing actually quite a slow but poor fallout from the budget. And the damage it's going to do will mean that you can't raise taxes because you'll do even more damage.
I know you work in fintech, but
Yes.
anecdotally, you're hearing about lots of people moving overseas.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of that.
A lot
chat
of
as well.
businesses going to America where the money and the capital's flowing in.
And
at the
Dubai.
moment. And Dubai, yep. That's actually the third.
And Geneva.
And Geneva, yep. All these places where those businesses will be able to survive, essentially, is where they're trying to
I
go.
don't think you can build business and build business infrastructure in the public sector. You cannot get a return for that because that's not what the public sector should be for. And that's what they're doing.
We're in the private sector. We're here to raise some money from advertisements, which we are now going to do. I'm back with Claire and Alex right after this.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
The birth rate in Britain has sunk to 1.49, well below replacement rate. Yet policies pursued by both major parties are still to spend huge sums to encourage parents back to their work when their children are still at preschool age. Should we not be helping parents to spend longer at home, asks his new book, whilst recognising that in an age of sex equality, the question is fraught. David Goodhart joins me now.
We undervalue the domestic realm, and that has led to lots of the most negative trends in British society. About half of children in the UK are not living with both of their biological parents by the age of 14. We have, of families with dependent children, about 24-25% are single-parent households. You know, mainly mothers, and they're doing, valiant work. But of course, it means you don't have the investment in children that a two-parent family can give. I mean, the reason why it's a care dilemma is that a lot of these negative trends are also kind of intimately related to positive things, like that movement of women into work, the fact that women are no longer so defined by marriage and motherhood, the fact that women and men are freer to leave unhappy relationships. And the challenge for modern liberal societies is, how we hold on to those freedoms but get a better balance, which means, I think, investing more in the domestic realm. We spend a total now of £9 billion on childcare subsidies. Why not give that subsidy direct to young parents so they could then choose whether to subsidise themselves, as it were, to be able to afford to stay at home, or to give it to a nursery, or to give it to granny, or to keep it in the home.
GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, here we are. It's a Tuesday. We're with Claire and Alex. Who fancies a bank holiday? Nice bank holiday Monday to cheer us all up.
Another one.
All the doom and gloom, exactly. Would that be nice? Start your working week on a Tuesday. What's this story? Alex?
Yes, so the government are considering giving a bank holiday to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. They're saying it's going to be a 4-day jamboree. I don't think it's going to be a 4-day bank holiday, just to be clear. I think there'll be bank holiday, but with 4 days of celebrations. These are just rumours, it's not confirmed. But the idea is that the last veterans alive, this will probably be one of the last times they celebrate such a big milestone.
One of the, because I think we have heard that every single milestone.
Yeah.
But, you know, sooner or later there will be none left.
Well, it is
so
the
you never know.
80th,
Yeah.
and the ones that are left will at least be in their 90s.
So what days? They'll not be in a position to enjoy it. It's people in their 20s and 30s that'll be enjoying it.
Well, that is a good point, Eamonn. But you know what? One of the veterans has come out and said, he said, this is a great idea, he says, because it hopefully will start to remind people, given the conditions we live in today and with the brink of war, why it was so important that we did what we did. And, you know, I think as the world's getting more sort of warmed up to the idea of World War III, it's probably a good time to remind everybody what happened in World War II.
When I was at the D-Day 80th commemorations in Portsmouth in the summer, there were sort of staff members there sort of looking after the crowds. And when the King came in to do a speech or a prayer, I can't remember what it was, everybody was upstanding, apart from a couple of members of staff who just carried on like on their phones. And there is this kind of ignorance and disrespect from some in the younger generation who don't not only sort of understand the importance of the sort of remembering the war, but also of the royal family. So they got ticked off. I was watching the whole thing in slow motion, and their manager came along, said, "Stand up," and they were like, "What? Why?" The King, we're praying, we're honouring.
This is what really gets me when we saw Stephen Flynn at the Cenotaph, and I got berated on Twitter because I said, "Look at the state of that," in parentheses.
Who's Stephen Flynn?
He's the SNP head of Westminster.
Oh, right.
And he stood there completely mute, did not sing God Save the King. It wasn't the fact that he didn't sing a hymn, it was the fact that he showed complete disrespect. I don't care if you don't want a monarchy. I don't care if you don't sing hymns. I don't care if you're an atheist. You are there representing the people who do believe all those things, and yet you do not have the respect.
I was at an event last week, which happened to fall on the day of King Charles's birthday. We all had to stand up and sing the national anthem. It was quite...
It's quite nice.
It's like one extreme to the other, isn't it?
But the
it was
thing is,
lovely, but everyone was a bit shy and awkward about it.
When I was a teenager growing up and you were in the cinema, the film would end and they would play the national anthem and you had to stand. Yeah. When you were at a disco, so the disco would finish and they'd play the national anthem.
No way.
Yes.
Can you remember that
way to end your night.
Stop smooching over there.
What would happen is half the hall would start throwing bottles.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say.
At the other side.
No.
But that was the law. The law was you had to stop and observe the national anthem.
Well, I can't remember the last time I sang it in public, right? So I'm just trying to think about the last time I required...
Match, rugby match?
Yeah, football match, but I haven't been to a live football match for a long time, a couple of years.
It was pretty awkward. Everyone went for it, but it was,
Yeah, well, it's just like, I think, look... I think these are really good ideas, and I think we do need to remember these things. This country suffers.
Can the country afford this?
Well,
that's a good question. Eamonn.
What dates are they mooting that?
I don't know. They haven't got. It's not confirmed yet. So.
And yet we've heard is trying to bounce them into. By reading the detail here, it sounds like the Express is like, let's do this. Let's have a party.
Well, it could be a good Express idea, but I think that the idea is that it would land on the VE Day and the VJ Day.
Maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
May the force be with you. Now, Alex, when it comes to a perfume for Christmas...
Oh, this is a good story.
You're a fan of scents or not, a bit of Old Spice at Christmas. What's the latest one?
OK, get this. this. Pigs in blankets perfume.
Who's selling that?
Guess. I mean, you're never going to guess who's selling it.
Marks and Spencer.
No, Mecca Bingo.
Stop.
This is just the most bizarre story.
I don't know. I mean, you could do that as a spray in your kitchen to make it smell delicious if you're having a...
You would never spray it at all.
So you wouldn't spray it at all. I mean, the fact is, if your clothes were stinking of food,
you might get attacked by the dog.
Can I just say, can I just add to this, because this is really funny. 1 in 3 Brits, get this, 1 in 3 Brits feel buying festive scents is one of the rituals that gets them into the Christmas spirit.
But that's not a festive scent. That's a scent of pigs and blankets.
I love a candle that smells of, you know, Christmas. I don't know, cinnamon and spices, and, you know, you like that in the candle. You're like, oh, Christmas.
But would you wear it as perfume?
But a pigs and blanket perfume.
But would you wear a Christmas scent as perfume anyway?
No.
No, so I don't. So whoever they found for this
I do very
survey,
much like a pig in a blanket. It's one of my favourite things.
Whatever it is, splash it all over. We're going to hit the break and we're back right after this top hour. Guys, thanks very much.
Thank you. Welcome. Here's Alex Burkill.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your GB News breakfast weather coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there will be some heavy rain pushing across southern parts later and as we go into tomorrow, but for many, today is actually going to be a drier, much calmer day than we've had of late. A good deal of sunshine around. Yes, there are some showers around first thing, especially towards the southeast. A lot of these clearing away, and elsewhere there are some showers coming in across some northern, northwestern parts, but many places staying dry and many places having lots of sunny skies. It is going to be relatively chilly for some of us, particularly towards the north. Temperatures struggling a little bit here. Further south, just about getting into double figures. Now, as we go through the end of the day, there will still be some clear skies around. A few showers continuing in areas exposed to the wind that's coming in from the north. Here we're likely to see a couple of showers skirting in around some parts of northern Scotland, and some strong gusty winds still towards the northeast as well. Elsewhere, a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and perhaps some feeding into parts of northwest England and North Wales too, but many places ending the day on a largely fine and clear note. However, we then have some clouds, some rain, some stronger winds pushing in from the southwest. This is due to an area of low pressure that is set to track its way along the English Channel, bringing some very heavy rain across southern counties in particular as we go overnight and into Wednesday. Likely to see totals building up. Could be some difficult driving conditions first thing tomorrow morning. Further north, away from the cloud and the rain, it's going to be a chilly night, a cold night, some frost, some fog, some freezing fog patches, and these could take quite a while to clear as we go through tomorrow. Otherwise, we will say goodbye to the cloudy, wet weather that we start off with tomorrow in the south. That pushes away towards the east, so many places turning drier, perhaps a bit brighter here. Further north, the best of the sunshine, 1 or 2 showers perhaps, but generally dry. Still temperatures a little bit on the low side. After a cold, frosty start, it is going to feel chilly, despite the fact that there will be some sunny skies. See you later.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M8 in North Lanarkshire is closed westbound from junction 6A at Newhouse to 8 for the M73 after an accident. A number of roads remain closed across parts of England and Wales because of flooding. A number of train services are suspended too. Now, there are delays of up to half an hour to trains between Headbolt Lane and Liverpool Central, where overnight engineering works have overrun. In Suffolk, the A47 is closed each way along Yarmouth Road in Lowestoft, where overnight roadworks have overrun. In Essex, the A127 is partly blocked westbound. There's a problem between the halfway house at West Horndon and the M25, causing delays, and train services are suspended between Crediton and Oakhampton, and also between Crediton and Barnstable, and that's because of a fallen tree on the line. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Imagine Good luck.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about.
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The government is promising to get Britain working again.
Touted as once-in-a-generation employment reforms, over £200 million will be invested in back-to-work schemes for under-20s.
But with youth employment on a downward spiral, is this enough to buck the trend?
We will provide those opportunities and young people will have a responsibility to take them up. And you know what? I think they will. Young people are desperate to work. They're desperate to get skills. We'll fulfil our side of the bargain to make that happen.
The search resuming for 2 Britons missing in the Red Sea after a tourist boat has capsized.
Russia launches one of its biggest drone attacks on Ukraine yet, just a week after Labour cut defence spending by £500 million. We're debating whether the government is too weak to protect Britain's interests.
Black Friday or Black Fraud Day. The truth about banking, a festive deal, is revealed as the nation prepares for the busiest shopping day of the year this Friday.
Morning, plenty of sunshine around, but a few showers for some of us, generally calmer than it has been before. Some very wet and windy weather pushes into the south later on. I'll have the details coming up.
And on this Tuesday morning, a very good morning. Thanks for your company. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster, and this is GB News Breakfast. We were just discussing the pigs in blankets whole issue there, and we had a message on your side this morning saying that's straight out of the Silence of the Lambs playbook. I mean, it is a bit sinister, isn't it, to think that people might be spraying themselves in sausage and bacon spray to get in the festive spirit. Not for me.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be in the festive spirit, full of festive
Yeah, maybe,
spirit,
yeah.
first of all, to do something like that. But there is nothing as bad as having the remnants of...
fried food or something. Yeah, awful. The
on
next
your
day.
clothes. No.
No.
Right, 2 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. 2 Britons are missing after a tourist yacht sank in the Red Sea off the coast of Egypt.
The boat was carrying 44 people, including 31 tourists from overseas. So far, 28 people have been saved, but rescue operations are being coordinated by the Egyptian military to try and find the remaining 16 missing people, which includes the 2 British citizens.
Well, let's now go to our Home and Security editor, Mark White. Mark, you're across this morning as to what happened and what we know.
Well, indeed, those search and rescue operations still underway in that area around the Red Sea. This yacht, 140-foot-long yacht, the Sea Story, had left the port of Marsa Alam at around 5:30 local time yesterday morning. It left, actually, heading out into a storm, according to local reports. The Red Sea, you might think, is a fairly benign environment, but of course, if the winds pick up, then it can be like any other stretch of sea, very dangerous. And according to those who were on the boat, there were waves of up to 4 to 5 meters, and one big wave struck this yacht not long after it had left port, and resulted in that yacht capsizing. Now, we understand that a number of those who are missing may well have been below decks at that time and in their cabin. You remember that really sort of brings back memories of the Bayesian yacht that was struck by a squall off Sicily just 3 months ago, in fact, and a number of people, including the tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch and his daughter Hannah, died in that tragedy, and those who died indeed were below decks as well at that time, because it was very, very early in the morning. So something similar in some respects, but in others not quite the same, because this boat was underway at the time. So there will be questions to be asked of the crew of this boat as to why the vessel was not turned into the waves at the time that this squall was coming through. But as I say, that search and rescue operation, it's still active. The good thing about the Red Sea is that at least even at this time of the year, it's a good deal warmer than the waters we get around the British Isles. So if people are in the water, it certainly is possible that they could have survived for a period of time.
Leave it there. Thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
It's warmer, but it's also shark-infested, the waters there. You know that there's always these shark attacks off the coast of Egypt. So, you know, they might not be freezing, but there are other risks to their life. It's an absolutely terrible situation.
It's the biggest reform to employment for a generation, according to Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall. Liz Kendall is unveiling Labour's long-awaited back-to-work plan today.
It includes a youth guarantee, which they say will encourage unemployed 18 to 21-year-olds back into work by losing their benefits if they refuse it.
Feel as if I've heard all of this before. Noticeably absent is any mention of a crackdown on sickness benefits, leading the Conservatives to label the plan nothing more than rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Let's get more now on all of this from our political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Good morning to you, Catherine. I suppose you could say this is the carrot, trying to get those youngsters who are economically inactive or perhaps even claiming benefits back into the workplace, but that stick is coming further down the line.
Yes, exactly, Isabel. There's 1 million young people who are not in either education or training. The government wants to get as many as possible of those back into work. So it's unveiling this £240 million plan today, widening the role of job centres, offering this youth guarantee, saying that they will offer young people opportunities, apprenticeships, training schemes, jobs. The sanction will be, if you don't take those opportunities, you stand to lose your benefits. Now, we don't have the details yet of how that's going to work. Some of it is quite eye-catching. There's this Trailblazer scheme. They're spending £45 million on that across 8 British regions, opportunities to train at the RSC and the Premier League. Those will be highly sought after, I'm sure. But, of course, we have a system in which we've got huge numbers of young people going to university, getting into massive amounts of debt, leaving and then struggling. There's simply not enough graduate level jobs for all the graduates. And at the same time, a third of job vacancies are simply because there's a huge skills shortage in this country. There is a gap where there's lots of technical education and skills should be that simply isn't there. So this is something coupled with mental health support, very important, of course. But the wider welfare reform, that's not coming till next year at the earliest. And the welfare bill has frankly gone through the roof, because we've now got 2.8 million people on long-term sickness benefits. It's costing £65 billion a year. That's projected to go up to 100 billion by the end of this Parliament. So the carrot now for young people, of course, that's only a tiny part of what's needed.
OK, Catherine, thanks very much indeed. Well, it's time for our poll of the day. It tees it up nicely. We're asking, should Britons be stripped of benefits if they refuse to work? We will have the complete results later on in the day during Martin Daubney's programme, but we have a little taster of what you're thinking so far.
Yes, a little taster how you're voting so far. Where is it?
I think it's 96% are in favour and 4% of you say they shouldn't be stripped of their benefits if they refuse to work. If you'd like to cast your vote, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
OK. Let's have a look at some of the other stories we've got for you on this Tuesday morning. The clean-up after Storm Bert is continuing. The Environment Secretary warning more flooding is likely. The storm swept across England and Wales over the weekend and it brought torrential rain, flooding and 80-mile-an-hour winds.
Today, the former German Chancellor Angela Merkel is releasing her memoir, Freedom. The political titan served as her country's first female chancellor for a total of 16 years until stepping down in 2021. Her book examines her early life in East Germany as well as her political rise.
A hearing starts this morning into the legal claims made by Prince Harry against associated newspapers. The Duke of Sussex and other high-profile people, including Elton John, are suing the publications for alleged breaches of privacy. The Duke himself is not expected to be present. What follows Storm Bert? Let's find out now from Alex Burkle. Here's your weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your GB News breakfast weather coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there will be some heavy rain pushing across southern parts later and as we go into tomorrow, but for many, today is actually going to be a drier, much calmer day than we've had of late. A good deal of sunshine around. Yes, there are some showers around first thing, especially towards the southeast. A lot of these clearing away, and elsewhere there are some showers coming in across some northern, northwestern parts, but many places staying dry and many places having lots of sunny skies. It is going to be relatively chilly for some of us, particularly towards the north. Temperatures struggling a little bit here, further south just about getting into double figures. Now, as we go through the end of the day, there will still be some clear skies around, a few showers continuing in areas exposed to the wind that's coming in from the north. Here we're likely to see a couple of showers skirting in around some parts of northern Scotland and some strong gusty winds still towards the northeast as well. Elsewhere, a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and perhaps some feeding into parts of northwest England and North Wales too, but many places ending the day on a largely fine and clear note. However, we then have some clouds, some rain, some stronger winds pushing in from the southwest. This is due to an area of low pressure that is set to track its way along the English Channel, bringing some very heavy rain across southern counties in particular as we go overnight and into Wednesday. Likely to see totals building up, could be some difficult driving conditions first thing tomorrow morning. Further north, away from the cloud and the rain, it's going to be a chilly night, a cold night, some frost, some fog, some freezing fog patches, and these could take quite a while to clear as we go through tomorrow. Otherwise, we will say goodbye to the cloudy, wet weather that we start off with tomorrow in the south. That pushes away towards the east, so many places turning drier, perhaps a bit brighter here. Further north, the best of the sunshine, one or two showers perhaps, but generally dry. Still temperatures a little bit on the low side. After a cold, frosty start, it is going to feel chilly, despite the fact that there will be some sunny skies. See you later.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, this is really exciting. It is time for our biggest and our greatest Great British Giveaway. Your chance to win how much?
It's 50 grand, 50,000 quid.
And it's tax-free cash. It's all for you.
There you are. Or you, or you, or you, or whoever
Lumberbar.
answers and whoever's lucky enough to win. Here we go.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Black Friday
This
seems
Friday.
like Black Fortnight now, because, well, maybe that's just my
Black year.
husband's shop addiction, but we've had so many deliveries the last few days. Oh, it's a deal, it's a deal. And in the papers today, just reading that parcel theft is doubling over this fortnight as well, because people aren't at home and the parcels are coming in. And
The delivery drivers, they leave them at your door and someone else is just waiting to pick them up, as it turns out. So, Black Friday, this Friday, we're going to debate that. Do you do it? Are you in favour of it? What
is it
things
even a
get
deal?
picked up? Deal or no deal after this.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets at My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Do you know why we were talking about dentists and implants and various things today? New dentures have been invented by scientists with octopuses. Is that the right word? Octopussy? Octopussy?
Pusai, yeah.
Octopussy.
Yeah.
Inspired suckers. And these dentures have twice the sticking power because they've looked at how octopussy stick on to certain things.
Oh.
So you get more pussy.
Oh, lovely.
Octopussy power.
Perfect. That's going to solve all our problems.
That's going to solve solve my problem.
Yes, that's why we'll send you an octopus visit.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's King's College London. That's what they've been doing.
Goodness me.
I didn't know, not being aware of dentures, but do dentures
latch on?
Yeah,
didn't know that either, but I did know that octopusi were sticky. You know.
There you go. You might want to get one for Christmas. Black Friday, this Friday. So if you haven't started your shopping yet, that is the day to do it appears.
Yeah, apparently lots of people are planning or already bagging deals left, right and centre in these alleged sales. But turns out some of these discounts are actually too good to be true. 9 in 10 Black Friday deals are actually cheaper at other times of the year. I knew it.
What is the point of that? OK, one woman with all the insider info to get us through this. Founder of the Retail Champion. We say good morning to Claire Bailey. Claire, hiya.
Good morning. Good morning.
Claire, so basically, how much of a good deal is this Friday? And I ask you that because I just can't be bothered. I can't. I know I'm wrong and I should be doing all these things, whatever it is, but I don't bother on days like that. Do you
I'm not massively into a sale, I have to be honest, but my husband absolutely. If anything has sale written on it,
yeah, he's there.
He just doesn't do the maths necessarily. He just goes, it's a deal, I'll have it. And I'm like, don't want it.
And I think that's the fatal mistake that anybody can make about Black Friday, to be honest, because like you rightly say, the Which report has revealed that a lot of these products have been cheaper at other times of the year. The problem is they're really unlikely to be cheaper between now and Christmas. And that's the crux of this. If you want to get something for a better price as a Christmas gift or in time for Christmas, now would be that time. There is a strong possibility it could be cheaper still in the Boxing Day sales. But for people who want to buy for gift giving and want to have it in advance, this would probably be the best opportunity. So it's not so much that it isn't a deal, it is a deal. It is that it could have been cheaper at another time, but unfortunately we missed the boat. We're not at that other time. So it's probably going to be the cheapest it will get before Christmas. And I think that's the message people need to remember. That if they can wait, if they can do their research, and if it's not something they're desperate for, then don't buy it now. Hold on and see what the Boxing Day sales reveal.
I've heard of some people who do their Christmas shopping for the next year on Boxing Day.
I know a person. I know.
Do you?
Yeah, I know what it's. I think it's a weird.
It is a bit odd, and then you have to store them.
Very organised, isn't it?
Very organised. But if you don't do it on Boxing Day, you could say, look throughout the year and be, comparing the prices and things. But who's got the time for that? I don't even know how many children, 7 or 8 children. I've got nieces and nephews, my own kids, plus all my...
I think that's a mental condition.
That's a lot of kids. Yeah. Well, yeah, I do think it is as well, but...
But I think the way to handle it, and you sound like you've got this nailed, but it sounds like your husband needs a bit of advice, is not to get seduced by a sale. Just because something's on sale, you have to still check yourself and say, do I really want this? And also look around. Just because the big retailers have got big discounts or apparently big discounts, there's nothing to say that there are smaller businesses that might not have had it at that price all the time. I find things like Google Shopping really useful because you can price compare, but also compare any delivery charges that are built in. And it means that as a shopper, you're just being that bit more savvy. And you can do this really cunningly. You can grab the part number from an online product description, pop it into Google Shopping, and it'll bring you up all the retailers selling the exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So there are ways to make sure that you are at least getting the best available price at that moment in time.
Claire, how much does all of this impede on you as a person? I mean, you're professionally sussing out a lot of these sites and whatever it is. Does that then have influence on you personally?
Well, do you mean I get sucked into the sales?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm very strict about it because otherwise, when you're looking at this sort of data all the time, you'd have a house full of stuff you didn't really need.
This is what I hate. Yeah, this is the thing. Even with buy one get one free deals, I can be at the till, and now even my 9-year-old son's learnt it, or is innate from my husband, and he'll say, "But Mummy, you can get another one free." I don't want two. I just want one. I don't need two in my house.
I've heard a lot of interesting content on social media about the buy one get one free because otherwise it can create food waste, for example. But people are taking it anyway and giving it to food banks or hostels.
Well, now you make me feel bad.
So that's a really good idea.
Yeah, maybe. All this sale stuff my husband's ordering, I'll just take it straight to the charity shop. That'll go down well.
It's sad to think that's what you may end up doing.
No, I'm sure it's for gifts.
I mean, my house is full of enough stuff.
Yeah.
I just got stuff. But I've decided this year, Claire, what I want really. I don't want anything too expensive or whatever, but I would quite like toys. And just like the idea of stuff...
Toy soldiers.
Stuff that I used to have when I was 10. I think remind me of that, whether they're annuals or, Captain Scarlet figures.
Men never grow up, do they?
I think that's fair enough. I think that's
You
fair
said
enough.
it. But I think the other thing is that on Black Friday deals, there are some deals to be had, but you've got to remember that the biggest discounts are on end-of-line products. So it might be the previous version of a state-of-the-art TV because another one's about to hit the shelves.
Oh,
but
right.
if people are comfortable with having genuine end-of-line and clearance products, Black Friday is often the time that the retailers throw all the old stock out with massive discounts just to get rid of it, get it out of the warehouse, and make room for other things.
And
So
if you need
when it's
big
something
things,
like that, it's worth
like
it.
a new TV or a new sofa, I'm open to deals. Don't get me wrong. Like if I walk into a shop and they say, oh, the sale ended last week and I'm just about to order a sofa, that's the thing I will weep over because everybody needs something to sit on. But, you know, just stuff around Christmas and actually even Christmas presents under the tree make me... I'm going to get in trouble.
There's actually quite a few deals on things like experiences and flights and holidays.
100%. Memories are the way to go.
Yeah, I think that, and they are genuine because you can look back on those and see that 99% of the time there would be, say, a spa day might be £150, and they do a very, very limited offer. 100 only might be on sale for 75 for Black Friday. And when you see it's either time limited, they've got a 1 hour sale window, or only 100 available, you know that it's genuine because it will revert back to the full price afterwards.
And Claire, what about the experience, the whole experience of shopping and Christmas shopping? You used to see, you know, black and white movies and people coming out of department stores with big wrapped up boxes of something or whatever. It all looks so fantastic and whatever. But I think so few of us nowadays want to go through the hassle of boarding a bus and carrying stuff home, and it just seems to be too much hassle. I mean, have we really changed how we do it?
Yeah, and I think it's one of my bugbears around Christmas is the way that people start to behave. They seem to forget the spirit of things and they fight over products in stores, and you see some of the worst examples of consumer behaviour. It's terrible being a person working in the retail shop floor at this time of year because you're doing long hours and people are very grumpy with you. And we definitely don't look like the lovely movies where everybody's got the spirit of Christmas at all. So I think we need to check ourselves as well and remind ourselves to give a little bit more respect to those retail staff who work in long hours to make sure that we get what we want for our special days.
Do you know what I want? Do you know what I would pay almost anything for? Having presents wrapped. Just to be able,
I think that's part of the gift. You see, my husband, again, he says the same thing. And I'm like, you don't even want to wrap your present for me. He wants me to wrap it for me. That's part of the gift. It's easy to do the buying. You have to wrap it lovingly. Sitting on the floor, getting the ribbon, that's part of the act.
Claire to wrap it, to say, Claire, wrap it.
No, that's not love.
I'll give you a £5 for that.
No,
well, I don't know. I think if you look back to Love Actually and the scene with Rowan Atkinson wrapping the gift, that's kind of the gift wrapping service we should all want and aspire to.
What, for his mistress? Wasn't it?
There was that.
Yeah, that was that. I hate that scene from that film. It's the worst.
Nonetheless, Rowan.
Oh no, we lost her. On that note,
that'll be the mistress.
That'll be the mistress. What done that?
But the funny thing is about working. I used to work in a department store, and when I was 18, and I remember the worst day. Just couldn't believe this. You worked on Christmas Eve. You got Christmas morning off, but you then had to work Christmas afternoon.
Getting ready for Boxing Day.
And the evening, getting ready for the sales on Boxing Day. It was absolutely hideous. I mean, my respect to anybody who works in retail and in shops, they're being at the beck and call of all the rest of us, because it's a hard time of the year for you. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. So if you are getting up and getting ready to go to your retail job this morning, big shout out for you ahead of the festive period. Perhaps drop us a line. Let us know where you're working.
Yeah.
That'd be lovely.
Thank you to Claire Beatty there, founder of the Retail Champion. She is. Nice to talk to her. Coming up, is the government too soft on defence? Are they too frugal on what they're spending? And is Russia laughing up its sleeve? OK, we're talking about that next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. A number of roads across parts of England and Wales remain closed because of flooding. There's widespread disruption to a number of train services too. The M40 in Warwickshire is partly blocked southbound by an accident between junctions 16 and 15 from Henley and Arden to Longbridge Island, Warwick, causing delays. Also in Warwickshire, the A452 is blocked by a fallen tree between Blackdown and Leamington. In Suffolk, the A47 is closed in both directions along the Yarmouth Road in Lowestoft, where overnight roadworks have overrun. Train services in Suffolk are suspended between Sudbury and Marks Tay in Essex because of a faulty train. Northampton railway station remains closed because of flooding, and train services are suspended between Crediton and Oakhampton, also between Crediton and Barnstaple because of flooding. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Paul McFadden of the Labour Party has done something.
He's just been giving a speech at the NATO summit talking about cyber threats from Russia. So we're wondering whether or not they are ramping up their aggression at the moment.
Wow. Don't know what we're doing now. Anyway, we're talking about Russia, what they spend on defence, what we spend on defence. Let's speak to two people who are going to debate all of this. And who have we got?
We've got Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Crawford, defence analyst, as well as Andy Williams, a political commentator. Welcome to both of you and good morning. Let's start with you, shall we, Andy? Lots of people are concerned that Labour are being too lax on defence. In fact, perhaps shaving £500 million off defence spending on where we should be, and all this as we see Russia actively ramping up their aggression and also sort of clandestine increases in aggression as well.
Well, firstly, I think that's an incredibly important point. You know, bad actors like Russia are trying to undermine the UK security in all sorts of ways, not just in conventional military ways, but in terms of cyber attacks. There are massive risks. John Healey, the Defence Secretary, has said he's absolutely committed, and it's a cast-iron commitment to Labour spending 2.5% of GDP on defence, and we're not there yet. But we can't get there until we fix the mess that we have with the economy at the moment. I think we're in a crazy position where, as a country, we're currently spending more money on health and disability benefits than we are on defence, and that needs to change. But it's not going to happen overnight.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel, are we doing or are we trying to have defence on the cheap?
I think that's a very good way of putting it, actually. And if there's one lesson that comes from defence spending, is that you can't do it properly on the cheap, as you say. I always think of defence as slightly analogous to a car insurance. You have to have it, but you hope you never have to use it. Yeah. And continuing with that analogy, I would say that in terms of defence, you can have either fully comprehensive with no excess all the way down to third party. And I think on defence spending, we're at the third party fire and theft and going down from that at the moment.
And what would you, I mean, if you had the budget, what would you be prioritising? Because we do interviews here and all we hear is, yeah, but defence is not the way it used to be, and the way you tackle these things are different, and you've got to think about cyber defence as opposed to other more
Boots
traditional
on the ground,
and tanks and guns and all that sort of thing. So how do you see the money being spent, Lieutenant Colonel?
Well, I mean, the first phrase that springs to mind is that of techno-romanticism. Which is a sort of a disease which spreads through certain echelons of senior command, where they think that everything can be done by modern shiny toys and cyber warfare, drones and so on and so forth. But the big difficulty at the moment for the British Armed Forces is personnel. And I mean, it's well recorded elsewhere, and I won't go into the detail of it because I don't have it at my fingertips. But we're going to sort out the personnel issue so that we are fully manned across all three services, and we have more people coming in than the services can handle. And at the moment, there are more people leaving than are coming in.
Yeah, that is a big problem, isn't it, Andy? There's a problem with retention, there's a problem with attracting new servicemen and women into the military, and all the while you talk about this 2.4% when conditions allow. When will that be? You know, all of the economic music is that things are not looking good at the moment, no sign of growth on the horizon, and that's not just me saying it, the OBR saying the same. So we could be waiting a decade, and we can't afford to, can we?
No, I don't think we can. I mean, I was at the CBI conference yesterday, and Rachel Reeves was sort of trying to sell her budget to, frankly, quite a sceptical audience of business leaders. And you're right, it's not going to happen overnight, but I'm afraid, and I know people are fed up of hearing that it's a situation Labour inherited, but it's absolutely true. You know, if you listen to the Shadow Defence Secretary, he says, oh, we need to go to 2.5% urgently. Well, the Tories only adopted that policy in April of this year.
Yeah.
They had 14 years to get there. That said, I think there's a really strong case for this being taken out of party politics. I think we need to establish a cross-party consensus on defence. It's too important to get bogged down in Labour or Tories. I think we need a cross-party consensus and an agreement on a way forward that accepts that we need to be spending what we should be on defence.
And it is, I think, sad and tragic and just indicative of the world we live in now that we should be spending more of our nation's hard-earned taxes on weapons and, you know, dealing with dictators than on educating our young or looking after our sick. You know, what has gone wrong, you know, and what more can be done to try and also broker peace rather than just constantly funding, you know, the fight against the world's bad guys, I suppose.
But the thing is, if you have all these things, the tanks and guns and whatever, you could argue, Lieutenant Colonel, who's going to pick a fight with you, couldn't you? You know, because people will not bother if you've got the nuclear weapons and things. Surely the best idea is to avoid us.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the state, you know, we are where we are, and the rot, if you like, started way back, as I think Major Mike Shearer may have said earlier on the programme. With the peace dividend from the dissolution of the USSR and the Warsaw Pact and the coming down of the Berlin Wall. And we took our eye off the ball. And all parties took their eye off the ball as we reaped the peace dividend. And then we got involved in all these little sort of mini wars, or big wars if you were there, in Afghanistan and Iraq and so on and so forth. But there's no, a strong defence posture is the best form of security that the British government could deliver to its citizens, and we haven't got that at the moment.
OK. Well, thank you very much for expressing your views this morning, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Crawford and Andy Williams. We appreciate it.
I think this is the Lieutenant Colonel's busy time of year.
Just before Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh!
This is just
He looked like Father Christmas. Stop it.
He looks so... Look at him, look at him there.
There he is.
Is that real
it's
hair?
My side hustle, don't worry.
I'm just wondering, does that beard come off?
Yes, I was up in the Hebrides, Eamonn, and I thought I would adopt the wild man of the Hebrides look when I was there, and I just haven't got rid of it yet.
You look very distinguished, very seasonal. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
Looks well. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Only you could get away with saying something like that.
He does look like Santa.
I know. I might have thought it. Probably wouldn't have said it, but it was very entertaining.
It's a bit like Dick Van Dyke, actually.
It does, actually, yeah, in his later years, if I may say.
But he is in his later years.
I know, OK, fair enough.
He's like 115 or something now.
Right, stop. Claire Muldoon, Alex Armstrong also looking very well. They'll be here in just a moment going through the papers for you.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Maria, potholes, the bane of everybody that uses a road, whether you're a car driver or a cyclist. As a cyclist, are even worse. How have we got into this situation where our roads are in such a bad state?
Well, part of it is to do with actually our climate. In somewhere like, say, Sweden, like the snow will fall on the ground, it will stay there for months. Whereas here we've got what's called a freeze-thaw climate, where the water comes down, then we might have a cold snap and it freezes, and the water within the pothole will then expand and make the pothole bigger. Then we might have a mild spell, and then that process repeats. So, we do actually need extra funding to acknowledge the fact that, we just live in a climate where we're sort of particularly vulnerable to potholes.
Why? I mean, the fact that this happens, these weather conditions happen, is no great surprise to anybody. Why has the problem been ignored for so long?
I think what's happened is we've had short-term funding. So it's like, oh, there's a pothole, let's patch it up. Oh, there's another one, let's patch it up. But the patches aren't actually really that strong, so then they break down again. So, really what we need is to have roads completely resurfaced, and then they'll just be pothole-free for a very long time. And that really is how funding should be. That's the direction funding should go in, as opposed to just sort of dribs and drabs here and there.
Do you think this government are going to be good for the motorist, or is there indeed a war on the motorist still?
The different parties come in and they've all got different policies that they wheel out, then they cancel the policies, and then there's so much lack of transparency. Like, for example, with the pothole issue, sometimes the government, whichever government is in office, will do some big showboating about how they're going to give X amount of potholes, and you still think that sounds really good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player app. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time to go through what's making the news this morning. And this is on the front of the Times, but it's also inside quite a few of the other papers. And it's about more single women using fertility treatment to have babies alone, Claire.
Yeah, it's gone up.
Yeah, sorry, we're going to go through all of these.
Oh, you want to do the front pages, do you? Sorry.
Yes.
Forgive me.
Right, so we've got that. We'll talk about that shortly. Then there's the government's back-to-work plan. As the Prime Minister admits, Britain isn't working as things stand.
The Mail's quoting the Chancellor and her promise at the CBI conference yesterday that there will be no more tax rises. There you go. Let's see if she stays true to that.
Devastation from Storm Bert. The clean-up is beginning right across the country as well. South Wales, Northamptonshire in particular.
Here's the Express. It's reporting that there are plans to honour 80 years since VE Day with a bank holiday. And the word of the day, jamboree.
Jamboree.
I love that. A 4-day jamboree. Claire Muldoon and Alex Armstrong with us. So, Claire, sorry, as I launched in excitement about the story, you know what? It's no joke raising children on your own.
No, it's not. I've done it.
To go through pregnancy, to go through newborn, to try and work and do all of that. I mean, it's hard enough in a nuclear family.
Yep.
But what's going on here? Is this about men not wanting to have children?
No. I think it's about women and the overarch, I would say, of feminism, because it's tripled in the past 10 years the number of women that are seeking IVF on their own with a sperm donor in order to have a child. There's part of me that thinks that's an intrinsically selfish thing for them to do, because it's very much, I want a child, so therefore I can have a child, because medicine has changed so much that it's enabling me to have that child that I actually want. Now, 1 in 3 pregnancies are aborted. 1 in 4 pregnancies actually end naturally in miscarriage. So I don't know why anyone would want to go into this by themselves.
Well, because many women are reporting that they are finding it hard to find a life partner before their biological fertility.
A child is not a life partner. A child is not something or a crutch.
But if I was 35 and I hadn't been able to find anyone to have children with, absolutely, I would have frozen my eggs. And I wouldn't want to do this whole thing of raising a child on my own, but I would hate to not be a mother.
There's a bigger side to this as well. It's the emotional impact it's actually having on women and therefore society as a whole. I know girls that have gone to other countries to get their eggs taken, I can't remember the word that's used. Harvested, yes. And they're places like Barcelona or, you know, in France, and there's other places because it's cheaper than doing it here. Now, that's most women or some people, some girls who have come out of relationships, maybe post-divorce, and they're thinking, what is going to happen to me now? I want a child. Yeah. And whilst I appreciate that, you know, it is a very lovely thing to do, I've had 4 of them, but I think is substantially a really intrinsically selfish thing to do. And I don't like the terms that HIFA are using. I don't like the terms that NICE and most of the medics are using. They would say your fertility is falling off a cliff. It's very emotive language. It's driving a drive, an inherent drive in women to have children, which is a very nurturing, very mothering thing to do.
I've just come back from Hungary, and they have programs there to help young people and to incentivise young people to have children before the age of 27 and 28, because there's a population decline all over the world.
All over the world.
So they'll, for example, they'll say if you have 3 children by the time you're 28, you'll have 100% of your tuition fees completely wiped out for you. And these are the sorts of things we need to think about in the country because it's too expensive. I mean, we've just had tuition fees increase again. Imagine the debt those young people get into and think, how can I afford to have a mortgage and pay off my student debt and all these other debts I've got to pay?
Alex, plus childcare is horrifically expensive. So if you're doing that by yourself, who's going to pick up that bill?
But we need to listen to countries like Hungary and follow that example because it is making an impact. It is improving those people's lives.
There's more to it, I think, than all of this. When you think about quite a few celebrities who are going down this path, you've got people like Sophie Herman, who is incredibly attractive, beautiful. Presumably she could have anyone she wants. Hasn't been able to find a partner, has frozen her eggs. Vicky Patterson, married, but she doesn't want to put pressure on her husband to have children. He says he's not ready yet.
But that's not a husband. That's not a partner.
But what I'm saying is there seems to be a problem with men not wanting to have kids by the time, and maybe this is all to do with the cost of living. People can't afford to buy a house, they can't afford to get married. Everything's being pushed back.
Do you know what it is?
Which means that the biological clock is not moving.
Do you know what it is as well? There's no enticement, there's no appetite for people to stick together. There's no appetite for people to... This is not a once-in-a-lifetime kind of like thing. It's not like a Disney membership. You can't just try before you buy. You need to be committed to people. Where is the commitment? That's what I just don't get. And I think as society, as the building blocks of society, that I believe that families are, it's a horrible indictment that we're facing this, that women have to be faced to do this by themselves. It isn't easy, and I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
And the emotional baggage if it doesn't work as well.
That might come on quite nicely to this other story about the young generation not wanting to kiss under the mistletoe anymore. So this story is really interesting. So apparently this might be the lowest ever buying of mistletoe, and it's because supposedly Mr. Champion here, who sells mistletoe, funnily enough, has said that he thinks the woke generation need consent before they kiss under the mistletoe, so therefore they're not buying it in droves. So maybe there is that interesting formula of...
I don't know what you feel, Alex, but it was never something that I was very comfortable with. I'm not saying I'm against them at all, but now I would be very aware. I think if Isabel said to me,
don't lie, you love it.
Just no tongues.
Not today.
If they, no, if you held up Mr. Dog, it definitely would be a... It'd be quite, but it wouldn't. You wouldn't really...
Wouldn't have a smooch, but yeah, I don't think I've ever done that with a colleague.
Look, the romance has gone from Christmas, right? It's gone from Christmas, particularly at Christmas parties.
It's gone from life.
Someone told me they had a winter party recently. So it's like, I know, it's so dreary, isn't it? It's like, come on, like, we need to loosen up a little bit on these things. And young people, you know, I've got 4 younger brothers, they constantly
tell me. Do they still kiss the young? Tell me.
Well, they kiss, but you know, there's an air of being concerned about it and being concerned with being, you know, dragged into sexual abuse.
Do you know what the answer is? Pigs and blankets, makeup, bingo, perfume. It's going to attract everyone.
Earlier, there's a new scent out, which is the flavour of
pigs and blankets.
Can we talk about what links Boris Johnson, Mariah Carey, and the Queen, Claire?
What do you think it is?
Oh,
some bitches in there, maybe.
I don't know.
Everyone's had their Weetabix this morning, haven't they?
Tell me, what links these 3?
Dogs.
Of course.
Dogs, dogs, dogs. Woof, woof, woof. And do you know what I love about it? To the Telegraph and the features page here is what the Royals' choice of dog reveals about them. This is very revealing.
OK.
Right. What do you think of Princess Anne?
Hard-working.
Yep.
Forthright.
Yep. Courageous.
Yeah.
Even Pit bull.
No.
The bull terrier. Bull terrier for her.
That's really surprising, actually.
Well, no, I don't think it is. Wonderful Zara and Mike Tyndall.
They're not too stuffy, are they? So they won't go for a hybrid.
They're lively, they're strong, and they're devoted, right? What have they got? Black lab and a boxer.
Perfect.
I'm going to say a lab.
Yep. And then, of course, the Queen. She loves a Jack Russell.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking corgis for a second. The new Queen.
The current Queen. I think Jack Russells are snappy, yappy wee things. I really do.
They all
You won't be getting a Christmas card from the Royals.
Don't want one. And the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
Oh.
A bold and determined beagle. There you are. And not surprisingly, the Prince and Princess of Wales have got a Cocker Spaniel. Gentle and affectionate, yet full of life and exuberance. A bit like their young family.
How perfect.
There you go.
And you've only got your cat, haven't you?
I know. Hector, the love of my life.
Yeah, and if you're getting a pet for Christmas, remember, adopt, don't shop.
Where is the Star today? Because it's on the front. Oh, that's the Sun. Is it there? The Star have a story, basically, talking about all these pets that are being abandoned.
Oh, that's so sad.
People just can't afford them.
And they're looking for homes at Christmas.
Yeah,
so
the number of loyal pets being dumped in the run-up to Christmas has risen by 50%.
50?
Well, look, I'm hosting a carol concert next Thursday in Chiswick in London, and if you can get along, go online to K9, K and a 9, and get a ticket for it to go along. But
go on Instagram and watch Eamonn singing about it.
Well, finding these homeless dogs, some homes...
And it's right by Turnham Green Tube Station, so it's really easy to get to.
Well, thank you, Claire. Thank you very much. Right.
Well, let's go from abandoned pets, shall we, to this story also in the Star, Alex, about poisoning cats and dogs, and dog owners who are giving their pets full Christmas dinner are actually killing them.
This amazes me. When I was young, people fed their dogs anything. Now, really, you have to be very careful. No chocolate, no Brussels
sugar.
sprouts, no raisins, no sugar. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've become a massive nation of dog owners, even more so now than ever. And this suggests that 2 in 3 dog owners give their mutts a full Christmas dinner. Full Christmas dinner. And, of course, a lot of that is poisonous to dogs, and that's what people don't understand. You know, they say, give the dog a little bit of stuffing, for example. Well, that contains things like onions and garlic, and these are toxic for dogs.
Yeah. Well, in the wild, they're carnivores, aren't they?
That's
dogs
right.
and cats. I mean, obviously, they've been domesticated for I don't know how long. But it's just not natural for
their
them.
stomachs can't handle it. So after Christmas, traditionally speaking, that's when vets get really, really busy, because not only have they got a bunch of new dogs for the kids, they've also got the sick dogs from after Christmas to look after as well. So be careful what you feed your dogs.
Brussels sprouts. There, I'll just leave that one with you. I'll leave it hanging.
Well, Eamonn, what happened when you fed your dog Wotsits?
It appears someone...
Oh, sorry, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, maybe it was somebody else.
The dog may have come across a massive, giant bag of giant Wotsits. And anyway, it was as if her poo was
radioactive.
It's a true story, where her poo went into the carpet, and no matter how many carpet cleaners we got out, couldn't get rid of the orange glow. That's true.
The orange glow stayed.
It's stayed there. So think of what it does to you.
Yeah. Not
Gosh,
good,
poor
this stuff.
Maggie.
No.
But you'll never do that again. Allegedly.
She loved it. Didn't kill her as well. So
My mum said that they had a cat when she was growing up that only lived off chocolate, and it lived to 19. You always get these stories.
You always get the anecdotes of...
Well, cats can't eat chocolate, but my mum had one, only fed her cat that.
Gosh.
But it was a rather large cat, though, wasn't it?
No, it was out. I think it did a lot of supplementary hunting and stuff.
Yeah. Burn off the calories.
What's the time? 53. Got 1 minute. Should we talk about porch pirates, Claire?
Yeah, porch pirates out to wreck Black Friday. 23 million packages are nicked every year. So watch out if you buy your stuff for Black Friday. Make sure you've got a safe space for them, because it used to be... So you used to go into the pub and buy something off the back of a lorry. Now you're getting it from someone's front door. And even with the inclination for people to have these Ring doorbells, others might be available, it doesn't seem to be stopping anything.
You're suggesting get a post box or something, something that...
Or even just make sure, or get your deliveries delivered to your place of work, if that's possible, or get them to involve a neighbour, if possible, but just don't leave them out in the street, because they are being nicked.
Yeah, in
right,
London,
left and centre.
people on bicycles go up to the doorstep.
They're masked up.
And then whiz off, and there's nothing you can do.
Masked in hoodies, so they won't be picked up, and on wheels.
Well, we'll pick you two up again in about 40 minutes' time. Alex and Claire, thank you very much indeed. They'll be back. And right now, here's Alex Burke with the weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your GB News breakfast weather coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there will be some heavy rain pushing across southern parts later and as we go into tomorrow, but for many, today is actually going to be a drier, much calmer day than we've had of late. A good deal of sunshine around. Yes, there are some showers around first thing, especially towards the southeast. A lot of these clearing away, and elsewhere there are some showers coming in across some northern, northwestern parts, but many places staying dry and many places having lots of sunny skies. It is going to be relatively chilly for some of us, particularly towards the north. Temperatures struggling a little bit here. Further south, just about getting into double figures. Now, as we go through the end of the day, there will still be some clear skies around. A few showers continuing in areas exposed to the wind that's coming in from the north. Here we're likely to see a couple of showers skirting in around some parts of northern Scotland, and some strong gusty winds still towards the northeast as well. Elsewhere, a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and perhaps some feeding into parts of northwest England and North Wales too, but many places ending the day on a largely fine and clear note. However, we then have some clouds, some rain, some stronger winds pushing in from the southwest. This is due to an area of low pressure that is set to track its way along the English Channel, bringing some very heavy rain across southern counties in particular as we go overnight and into Wednesday. Likely to see totals building up, could be some difficult driving conditions first thing tomorrow morning. Further north, away from the cloud and the rain, it's going to be a chilly night, a cold night, some frost, some fog, some freezing fog patches, and these could take quite a while to clear as we go through tomorrow. Otherwise, we will say goodbye to the cloudy, wet weather that we start off with tomorrow in the south. That pushes away towards the east, so many places turning drier, perhaps a bit brighter here. Further north, the best of the sunshine, one or two showers perhaps, but generally dry. Still temperatures a little bit on the low side. After a cold, frosty start, it is going to feel chilly, despite the fact that there will be some sunny skies. See you later.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M90 in Fife is partly blocked southbound, where a lorry's broken down at junction 1C at Admiralty, causing queues. The M6 in Lancashire is partly blocked southbound by an accident between junctions 27 and 26 from Standish to the M58 Oral interchange, with queues towards there. On the M1 in Leicestershire, 2 lanes are closed southbound after an accident between junctions 21A and 21 towards Leicester, causing queues. On the M40 in Warwickshire, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident between junctions 16 and 15 from Henley and Arden to Warwick, with delays towards and past there. Also in Warwickshire, the A452 is blocked by a fallen tree between Blackdown and Leamington, and there's widespread disruption on the roads and rails across parts of England and Wales again today because of flooding. Hampton Railway Station is still closed, with train services between Milton Keynes Central and Rugby having to divert. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, very good morning to you. The government promises to get Britain working again.
Touted as once-in-a-generation employment reforms, over £200 million will be invested in back-to-work schemes for under-25s.
But with youth employment on a downward spiral, is this going to be enough to buck the trend?
We will provide those opportunities and young people will have a responsibility to take them up. And you know what? I think they will. Young people are desperate to work. They're desperate to get skills. We'll fulfil our side of the bargain to make that happen.
The search is continuing for 2 missing Britons in the Red Sea after a tourist boat capsized.
Russia launches one of its biggest drone attacks on Ukraine. Just a week after Labour cut defence spending by £500 million, we debate whether the government is too weak to protect Britain's interests.
Black Friday or Black Fraud Day, the truth about banking a festive deal is revealed as the nation prepares for the busiest shopping day of the year.
And I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here welcomes 2 new campmates. We speak to one former contestant with some very interesting take on things.
Morning, plenty of sunshine around, but a few showers for some of us, generally calmer than it has been before. Some very wet and windy weather pushes into the south later on. I'll have the details coming up.
Sorry, we're just having a heated discussion
debate
about I'm a
Celebrity and what Maura and the Reverend.
They entered on Saturday. I watched them walk into the new camp.
They've been there for a week, so they're hardly new. Anyway, hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're enjoying watching us this morning. The time 1 minute past 8 o'clock. Good morning to you on this Tuesday. I'm Eamonn Hope.
I'm Isabel Webster, and you're tuned into GB News Breakfast.
It's happened in the jungle this week. I'm going to be talking to someone in 20 minutes' time about that. But Colleen, of course, she faced her first big task as well. And
are you changing your favourites? Because you were a big fan of Dean McCulloch at the beginning, but he's been a bit selfish, hasn't he, lately?
Meaning?
Well, he was having a nap on someone else's bed, didn't offer up his bed for some of the older campmates, wasn't very keen to go and help Jane with lifting the wood, although he would claim he was just having a nap. But it was getting, I don't know.
I think the lads, a lot's been expected of him. He's done a lot. He's come through a lot. And people who didn't know who he was, they're certainly remembering him now. Dean McCulloch is a Radio 1 presenter. What else have you got?
Well, we've just had quite a few views in, so I thought we'd squeeze some of those in as well. We've been talking about the World War II bank holiday. The Express are leading on this today, and Simon has pointed out this 80th anniversary bank holiday is actually a commemoration, not a celebration. He says, unfortunately, this country is losing its patriotism, which is a good point, and I think it's so important to mark these big events and commemorate those sacrifices, absolutely.
I look at all the events, you look back in history and whatever, and I just don't think I would have been up to it. Well, you would have been up to it because you'd had to be up to it.
Well, I think it was different. I was actually talking about this over the weekend. We were talking about grandparents and things, and well, firstly, they didn't have the news in the way that we do about what was actually happening on the front line. The news was few and far between. There was lots of sort of patriotic, almost propaganda about the war effort and doing your duty, and people really believed it. Whereas I think today people are a bit sort of annoyed with the state, frustrated with life, quite selfish. Would we stand up and fight for our country if push came to shove? I sincerely hope so, and let's hope we don't have to find out. But interesting point about whether or not we'd be up to it. I'm sure you'd rise to the challenge, Eamonn. In your own way, given your
maybe you'd like
in life.
You'd like to think so. I often think which arm of the forces would you join or could you join? And I think the Navy. I think I would be in the Navy.
I think I'd be all right as a nurse. My mum's mum was a nurse during the Blitz in London. She didn't leave London at all, worked all through the war, did night shifts and then would cycle back to her home in North London and didn't think anything of it.
Yeah. And what I do think about as well is what was expected of women during the Second World War. So much they had to do, so much was expected of them. And yet they then went back into a working society that treated them like second-class citizens. So didn't give them the same rights. But yet in the war, they had to make weapons.
All
they had
land
to
girls.
fly planes.
I'd have loved that, by the way.
Yeah, just so many things that was expected of them and they had to do because there was no one else to do them.
And the other element to all of this, whilst we go off on a bit of a tangent, but is evacuees. I could not wave my children off to total strangers in a far-flung corner of the country.
No mobile phones, no communications.
And yet people did, and they missed out on years, precious years of their own children. And also just the risk that, yes, they're not going to get bombed, but who have you left them with?
Yeah.
So difficult.
So many stories to tell there. Thank you to everybody who did what they did do. 2 Britons are missing after a boat sank in the Red Sea off the coast of Egypt.
Yes, the boat was carrying 44 people as part of a diving trip aimed at international tourists.
16 are still missing. The Egyptian military continuing to search. We're now joined by our Homeland Security editor, Mark White, who'll bring us the very latest on this. Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning, Eamonn. Yes, that search and rescue operation still very active because there is always the potential in the Red Sea, given just how warm that stretch of sea is, even at this time of year, that there could be survivors. Although, as Isabel was pointing out last hour, there is a problem with sharks in that area, which doesn't even bear thinking about. But 16 people, we're told, are missing at this stage, including 2 Britons. There were nationalities really represented all around the globe, from China to Germany and Spain, to the US, to Finland, all on board this yacht, this fishing boat, as it left Marsa Alam very early yesterday morning. And it left in pretty bad weather conditions, we're told, with winds gusting more than 50 miles an hour and with waves in that area up to 4 or 5 metres. So even the Red Sea, which is known to be pretty benign, when weather conditions are fairly windy and choppy, then the sea rages accordingly. And according to those on board that have spoken to authorities, they suggest that it was a big wave that swamped this 140-foot long yacht and capsized it, and some of those who are missing are believed to have been downstairs in their cabins at the time.
Terrible situation. And, you know, it's not that long ago since we had the infamous drowning in the Mediterranean. Yeah. Is it just a perception? You know, I think when there's a knife attack, you suddenly hear about a lot more knife incidents. Or are these boats being caught out by sort of freak storms? You know, was it Bayesian was the name of the ship, I think, that had that hugely famous tech entrepreneur whose name is escaping me now. But that was a freak weather incident, and it sounds like this was as well, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. There are similarities with the Bayesian and also this vessel, the Sea Story, because the Bayesian was in what would normally be, you know, quite a benign area just off Sicily near Palermo, and Mike Lynch, the tech entrepreneur, was on board. He had gathered many of his colleagues and friends to celebrate the fact that court proceedings against him in the US had finally ended with him being acquitted. And then just a few days later, this tragedy struck when a big sudden squall came in and capsized this vessel. And just like the Sea Story, Mike Lynch and a number of others were below the decks in their cabins, and that's when they got disorientated by clearly the vessel tipping over, filling with water. It's very, very difficult, especially if it's dark, to find your way out off a vessel you might not know much about. In this stretch in the Red Sea as well, we should say that last June, you might remember another big yacht, a fishing yacht, the Hurricane, caught fire and 3 British nationals were killed in that incident. So these types of tragedy are certainly not unknown, but what we're told is that this particular vessel did undergo its certification again and was given another marine certificate just in March of this year. It was only a 2-year-old vessel.
Right, well, let's hope that they are found alive and safe. As you say, those waters warmer than perhaps you might expect for this time of year. Mark, thanks very much indeed.
Appreciate it. Got some entertainment news just to bring you here. Glastonbury, the lineup is starting to be announced already.
Yes, they have, in the last few seconds, confirmed that Sir Rod Stewart will be headlining in the Legends slot at Worthy Farm. That is the Sunday afternoon slot. He headlined famously in 2002 alongside Coldplay and Stereophonics, but this is the first time Sir Rod will be in the Legend slot. I think that'll be great.
I have to say, of musical artists who I haven't seen anybody more often than Rod Stewart.
Really?
Yeah, I've been to see Rod Stewart about 10 times.
Have you?
Yeah.
Would you go to Glastonbury just to see him? If you could
No, I
be
wouldn't go to
helicoptered
Glastonbury.
in.
No, unless was being helicoptered
Plenty
in.
of people do. I reckon you could have a little VIP treatment.
No, I mean, I think it's great he's doing it. I think the man has amazing energy. He's fit as a fiddle. How old is he?
He is 79.
And
Glastonbury have said bringing Sir Rod Stewart back for the Sunday afternoon slot on the Pyramid stage is everything we could wish for. What a way to bow out with the final Legends slot before we take a fallow year. We cannot wait, because there is no Glastonbury happening in 2025.
And do we know why that is?
I think they just like to give the farm a little bit of respite every now and then. It was forced on them during COVID, but it's quite an impact that it has, so they're having a year off.
Yeah. So,
what a ledge.
Favourite Rod Stewart tracks?
Maggie May.
Maggie May, oh, that's a great song. You wear it well, a little old-fashioned, but I don't.
You don't sound like Rod Stewart, though. You do sound more sort of Johnny Cash, Elvis, but Rod...
You have to be much squeakier to be Rod. And then he's good, he does the whole sort of Sinatra-type stuff, you know, that sort of mood music stuff he does as well. There are many different aspects to him. So...
anyway, a bit of excitement.
I remember going to a Rod Stewart gig in Belfast, very summer's night, and it was during the 12th of July holidays. It was at Stormont, and sitting there, really good seats, very nice, whatever. And then this fight broke out.
Oh, gosh.
These drunks.
Isn't 12th of July also the parades and all that? I mean, it's brave coming to Belfast then.
Well, exactly. So basically the only people who would have been in Belfast at that time would have been people who were taking part in the parades, probably.
OK.
But anyway...
Hence the fight.
These yahoos, I don't really know what the fight was about, but this guy wearing a sort of Rab C. Nesbitt vest, and I'm thinking, how much have I paid for this seat and him to be sitting there? But anyway, he then started to punch and hit everybody, and
ruining it.
you know, there's the way it goes. That's the way it is.
Right, let's turn our attention to something less cheerful than Glastonbury, shall we? This is an effort by the government to try and sort out this generation who are simply not getting into the workplace. The Work and Pension Secretary, Liz Kendall, has been claiming that this is the biggest reboot of the generation. They say it is their long-awaited back-to-work plan.
Well, a youth guarantee will see unemployed 18 to 21-year-olds lose benefits if they refuse to work, but noticeably absent is any mention of a crackdown on sickness benefits, leading the Conservatives to label the plan nothing more than a rearranging of the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Well, let's get the thoughts of our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, in all of this. Is it just rearranging the deck chairs? And is there more pain to come down the line when they tackle these health and disability benefits next year?
Well, certainly more pain to come down the line, because at the moment we've got the carrot, the sort of incentives to get people back into work. The real benefit reform and the sanctions perhaps are going to come later. But we hear this sort of thing periodically from governments of all colours, don't we? Getting people back to work, getting the benefits bill down, and often with very limited success. So today we have this focus on young people, £240 million being spent, broadening the role of job centres, giving opportunities to young people, some very high-profile ones among them. Training at the Premier League, at the Royal Shakespeare Company for those lucky few that are able to get them. But there's 1 million young people who are not in education, not in employment and not in training. And the government really does need to get to those people, help those people, get them to work, because if you're out of work when you're young, it makes it much harder down the line. So that's what this is aiming at. But the welfare bill more broadly is out of control, frankly. At the moment, we've got 2.8 million people on long-term sickness benefits, and it's costing 65 billion a year. Now, that is projected to go up to 100 billion a year in this parliament. So there's going to need to be a lot of action, both in terms of possible sanctions, getting NHS waiting lists down, mental health support, and so on and so forth. Now, we don't know how that's going to happen, but there is an urgent need for that, because the country and taxpayers really can't afford this sort of money on the benefit system.
OK, Catherine, thanks very much indeed. Well, it leads us perfectly on to our poll of the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, the poll of today is, should we be stripped of benefits, young Britons, that is, if they refuse to work, which is the question Catherine was answering there. And so far, what way is it looking? 96%
of you think so, 4% say no. As always, final result in Martin's show, if you'd like to cast your vote. But for all our news as well and other elements from our website, go to gbnews.com/poll.
But you see, ever since I can remember, governments after governments, politicians after politicians, they have promised to do things like this.
Yeah.
You know, and it never happens.
It never happens, but they have to do something about it. I mean, honestly, when you look at the statistics about the increase in youngsters now signing on, and these are people who should be full of get up and go, wanting to get on in their lives. What has gone wrong? A lot of people saying it's about the social contract having been broken, that people don't feel like work pays, that it doesn't mean that they can get a house and move on, so on and so on. So they're stuck in their rooms, sitting on social media, scrolling. Society has to do something. And
the government... jobs there? Are the jobs available for them?
There? Well, probably low-paid jobs are there. Do they want them? I mean, that's the problem. But absolutely, the government needs to get a grip of it, because I think Andy was saying the cost, the benefit bill at the moment and how that compares with our defence bill is quite shocking. You know, we need to be spending less on benefits that should be literally there as a safety net for people who simply are incapacitated, and more on our defence, whether that be flood defence or national security. That's just my opinion anyway.
I remember when I was young, I'm worrying about not being able to work. Like, not, you know, how would I get a job? What job would that be? And ever since I was a teenager, I never found a problem getting a job. First job was delivering newspapers, then working on a milk float, and I'm allergic to milk. I don't. Maybe that's why I don't like milk.
Yeah.
Because the smell of milk on a milk float was awful.
I love milk out of a bottle from Milkman.
Taxiing, driving cars, cleaning cars.
Yep, Primani.
Working in gardens.
Oh, and you were a barman.
And I was a barman.
And you were a DJ.
And I was a barman while I was on television, at Ulster Television.
That cracks me up.
I presented the
Can you
Tea Time
imagine
News.
leaving breakfast here and then heading off to a bar to
But I used to do the Tea Time News and then be round pulling pints for people afterwards. And the head barman said to me one day, he said, look, Eamonn, what's this all about? Why are you're doing the news and then you come round here and you pull a pint and, you know, what's this all about? I said, Pat, that TV lark will never last. It'll never last.
How wrong
And
you were.
he pulled my bow tie and he said, it'll last. And he said, out. And he put me in the back and we had a drink of orange juice. And that was the end of me. That was the end of that.
But you have always had a very strong work ethic, I think. And
fear.
Even when you're not well, I think, you know, you haul yourself out of bed and come in, which is impressive.
Yeah, but what is the alternative? I mean, to anyone...
Well, a lot of people who are far more physically fit than you, Eamonn, prefer not to get out of bed.
Well, I do think there's too much time wasted with sort of analysing why people want jobs. And I think I could tell straight away, if I had a room and I interviewed 5 people, I could tell straight away who I'd want for a job. All this form filling and whatever, you know, I think it could be simplified and you either want or you need a job, and it's easy to tell who wants or needs jobs. But days are different today. Too much box ticking going on, I suppose. That's part of the problem.
Let us know what you think about all of that. As always, gbnews.com/your say. We're now
it's like Christmas shopping. It's the same. There's so much work available in stores and online and wrapping presents and all sorts of things. Seasonal work.
And how do people afford all this stuff if they're not working, you know? Anyway, we're asking, have you done your Christmas shopping yet? Maybe you're planning to bag a deal. Perhaps that's what people are doing. It is, of course, Black Friday this week, which seems to be Black Fortnight, doesn't it? The deals are around for weeks.
So are the deals too good to be true? That's the big question. 9 and 10 Black Friday deals are actually cheaper at other times of the year, would you believe?
Well, let's speak to our North West of England reporter, Sophie Reaper. Good morning to you. Are we all being tricked?
Well, a very good morning to you. It seems that potentially could be the case. Now, we are just less than 72 hours away from Black Friday now, and in years gone by on that day, you would perhaps have seen high streets like this one here in Manchester and all over the UK completely flooded with shoppers queuing outside these stores to try and bag themselves a bargain. A similar story, of course, outside our supermarkets as people queue up, camping out overnight to try and get a deal, especially in the build-up to Christmas. Now, last year, consumers spent around £13.3 billion on Black Friday, but it does seem that some of that excitement, some of that build-up has waned over the past few years, and there could be very, very good reason for that. Now, which the consumer body have said today that 9 in 10 products last year you could have got for either the same price or cheaper in the 12 months leading up to it, and so they've launched this campaign today to warn shoppers to be wary. In fact, the magazine editor Harry Rose has said, our investigation is a reminder to shoppers they should not feel pressured to splash out on Black Friday purchases, as those deals are usually repeated, if not beaten, at other times of the year. We want retailers to drop the sneaky pricing tactics so consumers are not misled about the deals on offer. Now, this isn't just 1 or 2 shops they've taken in, it's shops across the board. So this Black Friday, they're telling shoppers, don't get too excited, be a little bit savvy, be a little bit cynical, shop around and actually get the best deal possible.
Sophie, thank you. Have you been getting good deals, Sophie? Have you started your shopping yet?
Eamonn, I start my shopping in August, September. I'm very organised when it comes to Christmas. It's my mum's fault. That's how she's raised me.
Oh, that's brilliant,
I
though.
wish I was like that.
Huh?
I wish I was like that.
I'm just not like that, Sophia, and I know you're right, and I know Black Friday will pass me by and I won't have done a thing, but well done you. Hope you didn't buy me anything too big ananyway.
Thank you very much. I like to be organised.
I bet you've wrapped them and everything. Have you got your tree up, Sophie? Guilty! Guilty as charged!
I've wrapped most of the presents. But tree's going up this Sunday. 1st of December,
Okay.
tree goes up.
Yeah, same here.
Well,
Good
absolutely
for you.
right.
All
Good
right,
one.
then.
Well done.
Thank
Happy Christmas.
you.
Let's have a look at some of the other stories that you're waking up to today that are coming into the newsroom. The clean-up after Storm Bert is continuing. The Environment Secretary has warned more flooding, though, is likely. The storm swept across England and Wales over the weekend and it brought torrential rain, flooding and 80-mile-an-hour winds in many places.
The former German Chancellor Angela Merkel's releasing her memoir, Freedom, today. The political titan served as her country's first female chancellor for a total of 16 years until she stepped down in 2021. The book examines her early life in East Germany before the fall of the Berlin Wall, as well as her political rise.
And as we've just been telling you, Rod Stewart will headline Glastonbury next year in the Legends slot. 23 years since the musical icon last performed there. And recently, the 79-year-old announced plans to stop touring the world and spend more time at home in Britain. We're going to talk about I'm a Celeb very, very shortly. We'll do so after we give you a look at the weather.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your GB News breakfast weather coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there will be some heavy rain pushing across southern parts later and as we go into tomorrow, but for many, today is actually going to be a drier, much calmer day than we've had of late. A good deal of sunshine around. Yes, there are some showers around first thing, especially towards the southeast. A lot of these clearing away, and elsewhere there are some showers coming in across some northern, northwestern parts, but many places staying dry and many places having lots of sunny skies. It is going to be relatively chilly for some of us, particularly towards the north. Temperatures struggling a little bit here. Further south, just about getting into double figures. Now, as we go through the end of the day, there will still be some clear skies around. A few showers continuing in areas exposed to the wind that's coming in from the north. Here we're likely to see a couple of showers skirting in around some parts of northern Scotland and some strong gusty winds still towards the northeast as well. Elsewhere, a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and perhaps some feeding into parts of northwest England and North Wales too, but many places ending the day on a largely fine and clear note. However, we then have some clouds, some rain, some stronger winds pushing in from the southwest. This is due to an area of low pressure that is set to track its way along the English Channel, bringing some very heavy rain across southern counties in particular as we go overnight and into Wednesday. Likely to see totals building up, could be some difficult driving conditions first thing tomorrow morning. Further north, away from the cloud and the rain, it's going to be a chilly night, a cold night, some frost, some fog, some freezing fog patches, and these could take quite a while to clear as we go through tomorrow. Otherwise, we will say goodbye to the cloudy, wet weather that we start off with tomorrow in the south. That pushes away towards the east, so many places turning drier, perhaps a bit brighter here. Further north, the best of the sunshine, one or two showers perhaps, but generally dry. Still temperatures a little bit on the low side. After a cold, frosty start, it is going to feel chilly, despite the fact that there will be some sunny skies. See you later.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Joined by international life coach Cheryl Findlay, who has joined forces with a Liverpool business owner, Kate Hill, of sustainable sportswear brand Lola Star, to empower women and inspire women across the nation. And to celebrate this partnership with the new Lola Star collection, the two will be hosting an exclusive event next Saturday.
The sportswear brand was launched after, well, your story. You lost how much weight?
So 16 stone, which is over £220, which
wow.
I know is quite significant. But during that kind of decade-long journey, I learned a lot about myself. And I learned a lot about what it takes to be successful, to be happy, to be well, and to just live an incredible life every day.
Are you giving them goals to work towards or helping them structure their life?
Yeah, so I don't give out goals, absolutely not. It's all about whatever an individual wants. So what we do to begin with is we understand, like, where are you now? Where are you thriving? Where do you feel really happy and excited in your life? And what's lacking? Like, where would you like to feel better? Where would you like to improve? And then we take it from there.
I'd love to take that on board. I'd love to be my true self and fulfil my potential. So have you got any practical tips on how to do that?
Yeah, so we start with clarity, right? Like, you need to know it's such a busy, fast-paced world we live in. There's so much sensory overload. You know, it would be so easy to be distracted. So we need to kind of quiet all that noise down and start with, where do I want to focus? Pick 2 or 3 things. Where do I want to focus? And then we define the goal. What would I like that area of my life to look, not just look like, but feel like? And then we take it from there. So that's where you would start. I actually had a cancer diagnosis in 2019. And I just decided if I was going to be lucky enough to be on the other side of it, I wasn't going to play small anymore.
GB News, the people's...
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Okay, so we're well into I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. We're well into week 2. The campmates, well, they're still there. They're surviving.
Yes, and during those long days in the jungle, celebrities are finding new ways to keep themselves occupied. Last night, the dancer Oti Mabuse tried to teach her fellow campmates how to do the rumba. Let's take a look.
What is the rumba?
The rumba is the slow one, the 2.
So you go...
do that. 4. Yes, Jane, that one. That's it. Keep it
Little eyebrows.
That's it.
Do you not do the rumba? Are the eyebrows included in the rumba? Crap, I never got that.
That's it. Look at you, snake hips. Oh my God. No. Can you make your hips move in a figure 8?
Yes,
No.
look at that.
No. Not even close. Put your elbows up. Hold my hand. That's it. And then again, hip to hip. 1, 2. Slow down. 3, 4. This is good. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, the eyebrows are creepy.
The hips don't lie.
No.
You can tell he was in a boy band.
Let's go to former I'm a Celeb contestant. We say hello, good morning, welcome to our favourite of the show, Nicola McLean. Good to see you, Nicola. Nicola, just remind people the year you were in the jungle and where you finished.
So I was in 2008, so ages ago. I think I was 6. So I lasted right up until just before the cyclone, which was a bit gutting, but I did really well.
And who won the year you were in there?
Joe Swash won it when I was in there.
I remember that year.
Now, look at the difference that made to his life, it has to be said. I suppose it's a bit of a luck of the draw, what happens or what doesn't. But what difference do you think the jungle made to your life?
Oh, it made a massive difference to my life. I mean, for one, my self-confidence was so low before I went in there. My husband hadn't even ever seen me without makeup on. So then to go in there and to be stripped bare and actually come out and be like, it's okay, that was life-changing. But also just career-wise, I mean, I'd been a glamour model and then obviously getting older, I'd had a baby and I was like, what do I do next? And that sort of like helped me move on to other TV stuff. So, yeah, it was just epic. I was so lucky to get it.
And ironically, there you are, you're in the Mirror writing, being a columnist, reporting on what's going on in the jungle now. So what do you think? Isabel and I have been just interested in for instance, Dean McCulloch and how he's being perceived.
Well, yeah, Eamonn, obviously, because he's Northern Irish, instantly warmed to Dean. But I thought he was really funny in the opening couple of episodes. And I did a quick Google of what's going on in I'm a Celebrity, and his name popped up on virtually every story, and it feels as though the campmates are turning on him. So what's he doing wrong, in your opinion?
I think I like him, by the way. I really do like him, but I do think he's got a game plan because he isn't actually bad at the trials. So I do think that, you know, you do need to do the trials for airtime unless you're going to do something else to get the airtime. So he really is dominating it. And I think that's frustrating them. And, you know, I think that Barry sort of clocks on that it might be a bit of a game. You know, he's sort of not said it outright. And I think that's the problem. I think people in camp are starting to go, are you really scared, or are you doing this for, you know, for the airtime? And other people really want to try the trials. You know, it wouldn't be a jungle experience without having a go. So if you got voted out first and you had never done a trial, you know, you can't really say that you've had the full experience. So I think he's dominating a bit.
Yeah, that's true. I can understand. So who do you see? I mean, when you look at maybe those who are not getting a lot of airtime and then they get it. I mean, Colleen Rooney, I'm thinking of. She just sort of waited her moment, and you know, nothing seems to scare her, worry her. She looks as if she's at ease in a £40 million house. Or
we could all do that.
Yeah, or she could go and work in Boots if she wanted to.
Yeah, I think that's that is the joy of Colleen Rooney, which is why I think she's such a favourite. Even before she went in there, I think that, you know, we've seen her get impacted when she was 16, which she spoke about, which was so interesting. We've sort of seen that she does just sort of seem to take everything in her stride, no matter what life seems to throw at her. She seems to always remain composed and get on with it. I see Colleen as a winner if she can get a bit more airtime, because, as you say, you know, she isn't really getting it. And she did the trial, but she did the trial with such ease. She didn't dominate that trial, did she? Because she was just like, it's easy, basically. So I hope she gets more airtime. But yeah, I personally see her as a winner. I think the public really want her to do well.
She's one of life's doers, isn't she? I reckon I could be mates with her if we hung out. She's just, you know, she's just an all-round good egg, but has she got the personality, you know, to cut through? And as you say, Dean seems to be getting a lot of the airtime. What about the new campmates, Maura and Reverend Richard? I mean, I saw them on Saturday night doing the eating challenge. I was absolutely blown away by the extent of what they were expected to eat. Just the first round, I was physically retching.
The pig's eyeballs.
It was all disgusting. They had to eat brain, they had to eat bottom, they had to eat... Bottom? What would you want to say? Anus. I was trying to be nice at this time in the morning. Yeah, it was too much.
I'm sure a chicken's anus tastes just the same as like a chicken breast or something.
I'll take your word for it. I don't intend to find out.
You're probably all eating chicken anuses.
I mean, when that's probably what's in a McDonald's.
Chicken nuggets or something. That's what you're thinking, you know?
So what do you think? Have they done well? Have they been popular?
I did the eating trial while I was in there, and I really wanted to get that one, because I don't know about you guys, but as a massive fan of the show, I think it's the only one you remember. People still coming up to me in the street now and go, "Oh my God, how did you eat that?" And that's what people remember. So I think
did you have to eat?
I ate testicles and eyeballs and some
did
really
you throw
gross
up
stuff.
when the cameras stopped rolling?
No, do you know, I said to Medic Bob afterwards, I said, I think I'm just going to throw this up because I felt disgusting. He said, trust me, don't, because it is breakfast, so I'll remember that. But he said, you think that you've chewed it a lot, but you'll get the big lumps coming back up. So it'll be a trial in itself. So I didn't. But when I went back to camp, they had made the rice and beans, and I was like, God, you eat it. I'm full, I'm done.
And did it make you ill? Because I kept thinking they're going to be ill for days after eating all that.
No, it really didn't. No, not at all. So I thought they smashed that trial, and I think they are the duo we didn't know we needed. Richard, I absolutely love him, and I love that he's now him and GK Barry are now forming a friendship, because I don't think she's getting enough airtime. I love her. I've met her. She's really, really funny. So I think when the camp gets smaller, we'll see some more personalities. But the problem with that is I genuinely think all of them are really lovely, and no one really deserves to go before they've had a well-rounded experience in there.
Yeah, and just as it's standing at the moment, who would you give the lead to?
Who would, in my opinion, who would win now?
Yeah.
Oh, my favourite is probably, Maura or Richard. But I think Colleen's going to win it. I just think if she gets a bit more airtime, she'll win it.
Interesting. Nicola, really appreciate your insight on things. We're going to leave it there. We look forward to seeing you tonight. Toodle pip.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you later, guys.
Bye-bye.
We should have her in on the papers. We haven't had her in for ages. She's
coming to my Carol concert next week.
Oh, good for her. Lovely.
That's what your friends do.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't invited till today, but...
It's to buy tickets to see a little doggy's life, and you weren't invited.
You can't comp me a ticket. Come on. Anyway, I'll pay. It's fine. It's time for our big and our bold Christmas giveaway, and it's an awful lot of money.
That could buy a lot of Carol concert tickets,
That could just pay for the whole thing.
50 grand.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M90 in Fife, the inside lane's closed southbound, where a lorry's broken down at junction 1C at Admiralty with queues from junction 2 at Pitreavie. On the M1 towards Belfast, there's a lane closed after an accident between junction 7 and 6 near Lisbon, causing queues. The M6 in Lancashire's blocked southbound by an accident between junctions 27 and 26 from Standish to the M58 Oral interchange, causing queues. On the M1 in Leicestershire, 2 lanes are closed southbound after an accident between junctions 21A and 21 near Leicester. There are queues from junction 22. Colville on the M40 in Warwickshire, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident between junctions 16 and 15 from Henley and Ardent to Warwick, causing delays. Also in Warwickshire, the A452 is blocked by a fallen tree between Blackdown and Leamington, and Gatwick Express train services are suspended because of a track fault. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe. Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, David Walliams has been talking, and he's talking about his identity. I suppose we could talk about it that way. It's in a podcast interview with presenter Josh Sheps, and have a listen to this.
I mean, I think in a way, I'd probably say I'm non-binary. I think probably. I don't know exactly but I mean, it was interesting. I had this girlfriend at the end of university, and we used to go out. I used to go out. We used to go to like gay clubs and dance for like 6 hours, and I'd be wearing like a skirt and stuff like that.
So what does non-binary mean? I did a quick Google. It's an umbrella term for people who don't feel either male or female. So he's not trans, he's not a bloke, he's not a lady, he's non-binary, so I guess...
But why is he talking about it now, and why is he talking to you about it, Josh Sheps, this morning? Why do you think, Josh?
Well, look, David and I were travelling around Australia for a 15-show, 13-city tour across 6 weeks a few months ago, which was a fabulous time. It was an evening with David Walliams. I was moderating it. He was doing some sketches. There were thousands of people. It was all very funny. And at the end of that tour, I thought I would sit him down for a slightly more uncomfortable conversation, which is the name of my podcast, and which has interesting conversations with fascinating people from all over the world about the kinds of things that if someone was to express a strident opinion about them at a cocktail party, everyone would pucker up a little bit and, not want to talk about it. So whether that's immigration.
I love how you do this with a big smile. Uncomfortable conversations, you're just leaning into that.
Isabel, it's the only way to get people to talk about things that they wouldn't otherwise talk about. If you go in too hard, then then it sort of slips out of your hand. By the way, I have to say, while I was waiting to come on, it was lovely to have woken up and listened to a conversation about eating chicken anuses and testicles. I mean, that was a masterclass.
You don't get that anywhere else. This is why breakfast on GB News is beating Sky and the BBC combined day after day since you asked and since you brought it up.
We've got chicken testicles, we've got chicken anuses, we've got David Williams.
I said bottom. I said bottom.
I love it. So, anyway,
Josh, I bet you've eaten them.
I have not. I have never. I have eaten a bull's testicle. I've eaten a bull's testicle in the Midwest in the United States. They call them something. They call them cowboys, something or other. You probably don't want to know, but it's a thing.
What was it like?
We are open-minded here.
We're digressing, but what was it like? Was it like a hard-boiled egg, or was it like a raw egg? If you get where I'm going.
I didn't eat a lot of it, Isabel. I think there was a very small mouthful, and then I politely pushed my plate to the side in the diner that I was in, somewhere in rural Wisconsin. Anyway, back to David Walliams.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a very small mouthful of David Walliams now, and what he's revealing, what he's talking about. Josh, where do you think this goes? Because there is a lot of speculation about David, who he is, what he is. Where do you think this takes us now?
Oh, I think he's an absolute sweetheart. I mean, it was such a joy to spend as much time with him as I did. And the where it takes us is simply that I think we're growing out of, I suppose, the fairly infantile idea that we might have had about gender and sexuality, especially over the past sort of 5 to 10 to 15 years, where the culture wars have gotten so hot that it's become very, very difficult to talk about any of these issues sensibly without feeling like you're going to get pilloried or attacked from either side. And so Uncomfortable Conversations is a show where we try to have those conversations sort of heedless of treading on eggshells or triggering.
And do you think, Josh, that these conversations will become less uncomfortable when you get people like Walliams talking about it and who he is and where he's going, and therefore more acceptable for other people to open up and say, I don't know who I am or what I am, but I know I'm different?
That would be my hope. Look, I'm married to a guy, so I have sort of bona fides on the gay card, and I always felt that it was somewhat of a caricature the way the gay community or lobby, so to speak, insisted on a certain way of talking, a certain way of dressing, a certain way of voting, a certain way of dancing, that you can only be a good gay if you're wearing arseless chaps and straddling a giant inflatable penis while you're going down Oxford Street during Gay Pride. I always thought, can't we have a very big tent? And I think what David is doing here is just opening up, being honest, being upfront, saying it doesn't mean I have to join a team. It doesn't mean I'm any different from the person you knew. All those years when I was wearing funny, silly women's dresses on TV wasn't entirely a gag. It was also part of an expression of what I found to be authentic and playful and silly, and we can just all have a bit more of a laugh about it than we have been.
I should have seen where that was going when he described himself as a bona fide gay. For a moment, I was like, oh, where's this going? That's fascinating.
I've eaten the bull's testicles, Isabel. I've eaten the bull's testicles.
I hope David Walliams is OK. That's my sort of parting note, because he sort of says he seems a little bit conflicted. He doesn't always seem like he knows quite how he feels about things. He's got a big brain. He's very funny. We know comedians often have sort of, I don't know, lots of self-doubt, probably. So I hope he's OK. That was my only sort of parting thought.
I think he's fine. I think he's fine. I think he's a genius. I think he's a comedy genius. I think he's a deeply thoughtful person. I consider him a friend, and I'm sure that this is all water off a duck's back.
Good stuff.
Josh, thanks for your time. Thanks for bringing the story to us. We appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That was cheeky. Talking of chaps. Right, anyway, we're going to move on. Claire Muldoon, Alex Armstrong in for the papers for one last time this morning.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Bansky's Girl with Balloon is arguably one of the artist's most recognisable images. So when a limited edition print signed by the artist was stolen from Grove Gallery in London, an investigation was launched by the Metropolitan Police's flying squad. The work was thankfully retrieved. The desire to own great works of art has once again become evident this week, albeit a little further afield on the continent. Police in Italy have uncovered a criminal network forging artworks by Bansky, Andy Warhol, Pablo Picasso and others. Investigators said that they've seized more than 2,100 fake pieces of art with a potential market value of about £165 million. With me to discuss that case is the Chief Executive of Grove Gallery, James Ryan.
The art world needs to tighten up. It is known as a bit of a Wild West out there because people will try and chance it with these forgeries. You're quite right, there's only one actual original, but even auction houses have been hoodwinked before.
The burglary that you suffered is sub judice, so we have to be careful what we say about it. But it must have been a bit of a shock to you. I mean, was it a broken window, a smashed door?
At 10, 11 o'clock at night and just hammer straight through, shoulder barging through the door and then in and out. You know, gone in 60 seconds. I must say, I know...
Obviously, they had a targeted attack. The person would have known what he or she was after. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I must say, I know they cop a lot of flack, the police force, but the flying squad got the artwork back within 3 days. They were fantastic. So yeah, I've never heard or seen, other than the Thomas Crown affair type film, I just didn't think it'd be happening to little old me, in Fitzrovia, but it did, and thankfully we got it back.
GB News.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Claire and Alex, they've got the papers today. Claire, primary schools and exams, you're not in favour.
I am so not in favour of it. They should be scrapped, says the Daily Star. The National Education Union also wants fewer end-of-course GCSEs and A-level exams. This has been in a response to a government review. The NEU said that in primary, all high-pressure government's testing should end, and I agree. Kids should be able to learn through PE, through sewing, through music, and there's other... And when the kids are in those activities, that's when the teachers could be planning, they could be marking. They don't need to focus on the end-of-year exams for SATs in the end of Year 3 and Year 6.
That's what they do in Japan, I think. They don't really sit any formal exams until they're 14 or 15 or something.
We should adopt it, because all these SATs statistics go to show is how great the school is. It always goes to an Ofsted report.
Yeah,
and that
agree.
is not teaching. That's not building society. That's not teaching virtues, and it's not building children.
Yeah, I do completely agree with this. There's just too many exams, and time after time, exams are proven to not be a good test of intelligence. You know, you're better off doing a long piece of work where you're going to learn something, and at the end of the exam, you go, well, that's done now, so you haven't got to go back and relearn it anyway.
Do you know what else it does? It actually drives the poverty wedge between those who have and those who don't have. Because what you'll find is, and it is reported, is the fact that children who come from very motivated parents, often with the extra money for tutoring, for a primary school kid to sit their SAT and then their 11 plus perhaps, then they will attain higher grades than those who don't. And it's a shame. That's not the way, that's not parity, and that's not teaching in the sense of a comprehensive education, not a state education.
I think the key you hit on there as well is about PE and learning through games. 30 minutes once a week in my daughter's primary school.
That's terrible.
And usually it's just chucking a beanbag, you know, indoors. There's not a single blade of grass. They do their absolute best.
And what they're doing as well is they're homogenising children. They're making them all the same with regards to winning. You don't win anymore, especially in primary school. You take part. Life is not about taking part.
No, that's true. It's very true.
I'm sorry. Let's get on to a less contentious issue, obesity. There's a couple of weighty stories coming our way, and this one caught my eye. Boris Johnson is blaming the Archbishop of Canterbury for our obesity crisis.
I'm going to say this. This is totally unhinged.
This is so Boris.
This is real Boris, and I'll try and do my impression. He has said that he blames Britain's obesity crisis on the church for failing to provide people with spiritual sustenance and all that biffle baffle that he goes on about. And he's saying, he's actually gone on and said this, they're fatsos in classes, they're all fatsos, and I'd be shocked for saying they're fatsos, but it's the truth.
I mean,
don't get this.
He's not exactly slender himself.
Well, quite.
He's on his second week of his book tour in France, which is longer than he ever spent in France for the entirety of his premiership or when he was Foreign Secretary. But is that fair? Is it the Church of England's fault that we're having an obesity crisis, that we're not getting enough emotional sustenance?
Can I just add that the point here is that they're supposed to be feeding your soul. Is that what he's saying? Therefore, if you feed your soul, you don't need food.
But he's saying that because people were more religious before. He said, when I was younger, people were skinnier, they ran around a huge amount, they drank phenomenal qualities of Tizer, and they ate Spangles and Curly Whirlies. He's basically saying that back in his day, people were slimmer. But that's got nothing to do with spiritual sustenance. That's just got to do with our terrible standard of foods and the processed foods we eat today. So I think he's off his rocker.
Says the man who got married for the third time in Westminster Cathedral, which is the head of the Catholic Church in this country.
Well, that's a whole nother topic.
So, yeah, exactly.
But let's stick with the weight topic, because this is in The Guardian, and this is the cure-all of these Wegovy, Ozempic, Mounjaro, whatever you want to call them. It seems to be fixing dementia, fixing obesity, fixing diabetes, and now what's it fixing?
Kidney malfunction. You just could not, honestly, you could not make this up.
on it?
We've had people who've bought these drugs off the internet who have died, right? They are relatively new jabs. OK? They are first form of diabetic treatment, then secondly, obesity. But what have we found? Lots of famous people, especially from America, have been buying them. Look at Cheryl Osborne for a start. The Kardashians have all been on it as well. And I just think it's so sad that people feel the need to take a jab to do something that actually, anecdotally, makes you vomit, makes you poo more, and is actually not that, I would say, good for you.
Well, there's this really weird phenomenon. I don't know if you've all noticed, this weird phenomenon of all these celebrities who are in their late 30s or mid-40s who've just come out looking extreme. Oh, Shania Twain's a good example. She's like a totally different woman. Lindsay Lohan was in the press the other day. Maybe Ozempic is the cure. Rumour has it. Maybe Ozempic is the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Well, talking about fountains, let's talk about beer, Alex, in the sun. And what does beer tell you about your DNA?
Right. So this is quite a slightly complex story.
You can do it.
I can get it. I can get it out there. We'll get that. I think I might have had one in the break by accident.
You've only got 40 seconds.
OK, 40 seconds. Basically, your love for beer is formed in the womb, and men that have a long ring finger, longer than their index finger, are more likely to be drinkers. This is obviously a study that was done by Swansea University.
I thought that used to mean
it's longer than your index.
Oh, yeah. Mine too, crikey.
It's only for men.
But it does say only it's for men. Women, unfortunately, do still get more intoxicated. It's something to do with the enzymes.
Question, how does the baby in the womb get more of this? That's what
it's
I'm
testosterone.
How do they get testosterone in the womb?
I don't know how that works. I don't know. But there we go.
Thank you. Wow. Very well done. The mind boggles. Here's Alex Armstrong. Oh, no, we've had Alex Armstrong. Here's the weather.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M90 in Fife, the inside lanes closed southbound, where a lorry's broken down at junction 1C at Admiralty with queues from junction 2 at Pitreavie. On the M1 towards Belfast, there's a lane closed after an accident between junction 7 and 6 near Lisbon, causing queues. On the M6 in Lancashire, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident between junctions 27 and 26 towards the M58 Oral interchange, with long delays towards there. Northampton Railway Station remains closed because of flooding. Train services between Rugby and Milton Keynes Central are diverting. The M25 in Surrey, the inside lanes closed clockwise at junction 13 at Staines after an accident, with queues from junction 12 for the M3. And Gatwick Express train services are suspended because of a track fault. Southern and Thameslink are still running to and from the airport, but with delays of up to 20 minutes. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The government promises to get Britain working again.
Well, touted as once-in-a-generation employment reforms, over £200 million will be invested in back-to-work schemes for the under-25s.
But with youth employment on a downward spiral, is this enough to buck the trend?
We will provide those opportunities and young people will have a responsibility to take them up. And you know what? I think they will. Young people are desperate to work. They're desperate to get skills. We'll fulfil our side of the bargain to make that happen.
We have got Alison McGovern. Alison McGovern is the Work and Pensions Minister. In a few minutes' time, talking to her about that.
The search is continuing for 2 missing Britons in the Red Sea after a tourist boat capsized.
This Friday, Black Friday, or is it a Black Fraud Day? The truth about banking a festive deal is revealed as we prepare for the busiest shopping day of the year.
Morning, plenty of sunshine around, but a few showers for some of us, generally calmer than it has been before. Some very wet and windy weather pushes into the south later on. I'll have the details coming up.
So, the time, 1 minute past 9 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. Good morning to you. Thank you for your company. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster, and you're tuned in to GB News Breakfast. Just a little update on this petition that has been doing the rounds, calling for another general election. It's exceeded 2.5 million signatures already.
Doubled in just 2 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Since the start of the week. Lots of you have been getting in touch about that this morning on Your Say. Alistair says, we have a government of incompetence, and Starmer's dismissive view of the general election petition is further proof that his priority is self and his own view of the world, and he has no concern for the people or the national interest.
So whoever wrote that, they're saying basically don't ignore this because we can make this happen.
Well, he was asked about it on This Morning yesterday, which I thought was quite interesting. I don't know if he thinks it's a good idea to go on This Morning because he might get an easy ride, but he wasn't given an easy ride. And he said, yeah, I'm perfectly aware lots of people don't like me. We've just won a landslide number of seats in Parliament, and you are just a few months after winning it. You wouldn't expect 2.5 million people to sign a petition of this nature. Will it change anything? Probably not, but we'll be speaking to the government in just a moment, and we will talk about this, amongst other things.
We're also talking about jobs and the biggest reform to employment for a generation, according to the Work and Pension Secretary, Liz Kendall. She's unveiling Labour's back to work plan today.
Yes, they're calling it a youth guarantee, and it will see unemployed 18 to 21-year-olds lose their benefits if they refuse work.
But there is no mention of a crackdown on sickness benefits.
Well, leading the Conservatives to label the plan nothing more than rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Well, let's get more on this now. We go to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, on this one. Catherine, what more have you got to tell us?
Yes, good morning. Well, there are 1 million young people who are not in education, not in training, not in employment. So the government is trying to tackle this with some announcements today, £240 million, expanding the role of job centres, and 40 million on a trailblazer scheme, skills opportunities, places like the Premier League, the RSC, for those lucky enough to get taken on that, but trying to give opportunities and jobs to young people with the threat that they could lose their benefits if they don't take those up. But more broadly, the welfare bill, frankly, is astronomical. It's gone up significantly post-COVID. We've now got 2.8 million people on long-term sickness benefits. It's costing 65 billion a year. That's projected to go up to 100 billion. The government, taxpayers, us, simply cannot afford that. So the government is going to have to look at how to get that down. But that's not what we're hearing today. We're getting a bit of the carrot, if you like, to young people, but the stick is going to have to come next year if they're to tackle this, because the government, as we know, is very short of money. They put up taxes by 40 billion. The growth projections are anemic at best. Public services not in a good state. So getting that welfare bill down is going to be critical, but at the moment, we don't know how they're going to do that.
It's funny, they keep seeming to sort of box themselves into corners. We were talking a moment ago, Catherine, about the PM on This Morning yesterday, where he said that he was taking this approach of getting rid of the pain in the beginning and then hopefully reaping the benefits later on during his term. Well, it doesn't sound like it if he's planning this big welfare cut possibly next year, this change to disability benefits. And then we've got the Chancellor, who's already made herself incredibly unpopular since her budget, coming out and saying, don't worry, no more tax rises. Well, that's now on the record. But it's also led other people to conclude that's going to mean public sector cuts come 2026, more austerity.
Yes, 2.5 million people signing that petition, as you mentioned. But I think that Labour swept to that big majority, not because people were positive and excited about what they were going to bring, but because so many people were really cross with the Conservative Party. And it was going to be difficult for whoever came into power. There's not a lot of money around, but they certainly have had a very, very rocky start. There was a lot of talk of doom and gloom. They've said it's all about growth, it's all about change, but it seems like growth is going to be very, very hard to come by. And if they don't get that of course. Rachel Reeves has said she's not going to be putting up taxes more. Are they going to have to make cuts to public services? It sounds very much like they are in a couple of years.
Interesting.
Let's find out. Catherine, thanks very much indeed. It'd be nice to say hello, good morning, and welcome to the Employment Minister, Alison McGovern. Alison.
Good morning.
Hiya. How big is this problem you've got on your hands? Because I have to say, I'm a bit surprised by this. I wasn't aware that we had a problem, particularly in the youth sector of the economy, and people, can they not get jobs or do they not want jobs?
So the problem is big because it's risen quite a lot in the past few years. So unemployment itself is historically quite low, but we've got a really targeted problem with young people that seems to be about ill health that young people are experiencing, and it's also concentrated in certain parts of the country. Post-pandemic, young people didn't get the chances and opportunities that they really needed to start to have a good career in life. And that's why we've published a white paper today showing how we're going to change that, both by fixing our job centres to bring them into the modern world, and also by having a special focus on young people to make sure no young person is left on the scrap heap languishing without an opportunity.
Yeah, the figures are stark. 14% of under 25s are neither earning nor learning. You talk about this mental health crisis, and you're now offering schemes to work within Channel 4, at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and even in the Premier League. So this is the carrot, but what about the stick? Because there seems to be no mention of the huge cuts that you are planning to the welfare bill, because we need to make cuts to it. How big will they be, and how painful will they be?
Well, firstly, let me say on the rules. With Social Security, everybody has a responsibility to stick to the rules. What that means is, if you receive universal credit, an agreement about what you're going to do, about the activities that you're going to undertake, and if you don't fulfil that agreement, if I claimed universal credit tomorrow and I didn't fulfil what I'd signed up to do, then I could have my benefit stopped and taken off me. And those rules are really important because they protect the system. We've also had a whole lot of fraud under the Tories in the system, which is another problem that we need to deal with. What we've also got happening is in certain parts of our country, we haven't got enough good jobs, enough opportunities. And the government has a responsibility, because it's responsibility on both sides, to help young people into those jobs. So a good opportunity put to you and a responsibility to take it up.
What would you say to anybody who's thinking about doctoring their CV? Would that be considered within the rules? I ask because, of course, the Chancellor of the Exchequer has been found guilty of that, although facing no repercussions for it.
I'm really sorry, I'm not sure what you're referring to there, because the Chancellor of the Exchequer is an extremely qualified person to be taking.
Yeah, but she lied on her LinkedIn as well, you know, claiming to have been an economist at the Bank of England when she worked in retail at HSBC. Totally different.
No, I'm sorry, but she was an economist at the Bank of England.
Yes, but not the dates that she claimed.
She's a very well-qualified economist.
It was also while she was a trainee at university.
To do her job.
OK, so that's fine within the rules for any youngsters that want to get on.
She was a Bank of England economist. I'm not really sure what we're. I'm not really sure what we're arguing here.
Sorry,
over,
because you brought up rules and people trying to get jobs. I was just checking whether or not that was permitted.
As I've said, people should stick to the rules. You've put to me some kind of allegation that Rachel Reeves is not an economist, when in fact she is. And she's a very well-qualified person to be doing her job.
My allegation was about her changing her LinkedIn,
so actually,
which we know to be a fact. Anyway, we can move on, because we're not progressing here. Should we talk about what she was saying at the CBI conference yesterday? Got a bit of a cold reception there, but she has promised, and it's on the record now, no more tax cuts. That has led the I newspaper and other people to raise their eyebrows and predict public sector cuts come 2026, the return of austerity.
No, we're not having a return to austerity that failed. We're going to invest in our public services. What we were faced with in taking up office was a horrific legacy from the Conservative Party, where they had made promises willy-nilly that they had no idea how they were going to fund. Rachel had two choices at that point. She could either continue with that madness or take the tough choices to bring the public finances back under control and into balance, and she chose the latter, the tough choice.
Yeah, and do you think
we are announcing plans today to radically improve our job centres so that we can help deal with the staff shortages that we've got in our health service and other parts of the public sector too. And that way we will grow our economy and make it much more sustainable to invest in our public services in the future.
Surely you grow your economy by not going after business. I mean, you just have to look at the front of the Telegraph. Tax rises at the hands of the Chancellor are milking us, said the bosses of businesses in this country. They feel as though they've been the cash cow for this government.
Well, I've worked with businesses on producing the proposals we're announcing today to change job help, and I know that they need much more support from the government in making job centres work for them. I am not immune, and nor do I ignore the very tough situation that the country is in, and I know every business in the country is wrestling with that and having to deal with it. I would simply say again, Rachel had two choices on taking up office. She could either go down the same path as the Tories, year after year, making promise after promise that you can never fund, or you can get a proper budget in balance, knowing that you can fund your promises and grow the economy from there, and she chose the tough choice at the latter. And that way, through better job centres that really serve them properly, help them find the employees that they need to grow.
Well, good luck to you, Alison, what you're trying to do. I hope it does work out and finding out what's behind a lot of these youngsters and why they claim to be ill and why they are ill and what they're suffering from. But could I also talk to you about the growing, well, I see it as a problem, you mightn't see it as a problem, this popularity petition that is going around and has now reached 2.5 million signatures. I mean, there you are, a few months in government, and all these folk are saying, that's it, we've had enough, get out, or we want the chance of going to the polls again. Is this all a bit of a joke, or how seriously do you take this?
Well, we've had lots of elections in recent years. We've had almost a chaotic amount of elections, and I think what people want from politics and from government is for them to do things that are actually going to help them. I know didn't vote for us, and they didn't want the outcome that happened in the election, so it doesn't surprise me that they would take the opportunity to point that out. The thing that I would say is I do not blame anyone in this country for being frustrated at what has happened in politics in recent years. I don't think that we've delivered I don't think politics has delivered for the country. It's the challenge for us now to make real changes that people can see so they experience a better quality of life. And that is the challenge that I relish.
Well, what a challenge. Alison McGovern, thank you. I hope you're up to it. Very good talking to you this morning. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Now it's time for our poll of the day. We've been asking whether you agree that Britons should be stripped of their benefits if they refuse to work, and it remains at 96%. 4 of you saying no.
OK, who are those 4? Final result, Martin Dobney will have that from 3 o'clock this afternoon, so stay tuned for that. Go to the website gbnews.com/poll for how to take part.
Right, it is time for our biggest and our great British giveaway. Your chance to win £50,000 in tax-free cash. It is our biggest ever cash prize, so make sure you're in it if you want to win it.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year. luck.
Right, 16 minutes now past 9 o'clock. I hope your day is going well so far on this Tuesday. Friday, that's another cup of tea. Black Friday. Shoppers are being warned, though, to look out for scams, OK? Find out more about that next.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BlackFriday25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Love a bit of baking and share some hot tips. We're delighted to be joined by our baking extraordinaire, Matty Edgell, who won Great British Bake Off last year. Woo! Welcome. Congratulations as well. I'm sure you're sick of being congratulated.
And there's a nice reminder.
No, you like all the glory.
Yeah.
What was it like winning the Great British Bake Off? What's last year been like for you?
Winning I was not expecting to win at any point until they said my name.
You're a very humble guy.
Surprise. No, I was
really
in touch with reality. I wasn't.
Was it quite a close race throughout then?
Yeah, I considered myself the underdog throughout. I think the first week I turned around after the showstopper and kind of saw how good everyone was, and then looked at mine and thought, how have I got here? And that kind of theme followed through.
But then that surely like an underdog.
Yeah, it did.
Actually, I'm going to get better throughout this.
Yeah, I think it made me kind of like really tune into the feedback that they was giving me and trying to embed that throughout. So that's probably why.
Could you feel yourself improving as the series went on?
Definitely, and I think also like kind of simultaneously my confidence improved at the same time, and then that like little bit of belief in myself probably helped out as well.
What was your strength? Biscuits, cake, bread?
I think cake's my strength. I think cake, typically, if you start baking, that's probably where you start, isn't it? So that was what I knew most.
How did you start baking?
I've been asked this so many times since...
You don't know.
I attribute it to my nan.
Sweet.
But, yeah, I would say... I think most people probably attribute it to, like, a grandparent or something that they maybe done with, like, their parents when they was growing up. So that's... I'll give it to my nan.
Or the major lockdown baking boom.
Yeah, banana bread.
Everybody...
All over the place, don't it? It's good.
Yeah, it's really good. I love a banana bread, even now.
GB News, the People's Channel.
So apparently Friday's the big day if you want to do your Christmas shopping.
Except it's not, is it? It's kind of like the fortnight. I actually thought it was last Friday because I've had so many emails. It's this Friday, but I just feel my inbox is just Black Friday, Black Friday.
Buy a lot of old rubbish that nobody wants.
I know.
Goodness.
But there are deals to be had, but there are also scams. So how can you make sure that you are actually getting a good discount? Because apparently 9 in 10 of these deals are actually cheaper at other times
So
of
this
the
is
year.
Black Friday, right? So Black Friday... When did Black Friday
I
start
don't know.
happening?
I thought it used to be a depressing day.
I'm surprised you're even allowed to say it, but there we go. Let's go to our northwest of England reporter, Sophie Reaper. Now, let me tell you about Sophie Reaper. There is the epitome of organisation.
I know, yeah.
She has got Christmas sorted. Oh, well, you don't need me to tell you. She's got the whole story. Sophie,
She's got life sorted.
Well, I may have Christmas sorted, but lots of shoppers will be thinking of Black Friday to try and get their Christmas shopping over the line this year. Over the past decade, it seems that Black Friday had that big build-up. As you were saying, Isabel, it seems like a fortnight now. We have the build-up, we have Black Friday, we even have Cyber Monday now to try and get those deals. But as he was saying, it seems now, according to Which, the consumer body, that last year 9 in 10 of those deals that people thought they'd gotten on Black Friday, they actually could have got them for the same price or perhaps even cheaper in the 12 months leading up to it. So Which are advising people to take their time, to do their research. Now, we've been speaking to people here in Manchester this morning where usually on Black Friday there would be queues coming out of doors, but perhaps this year that won't be the case. We've been speaking to people and asking if they do Black Friday shopping, and if so, if they feel like they're actually getting a bargain.
Felt like it's been a pretty good bargain this year. Last year not so much, but seems to be good.
I can never find the deals. I do the research and I just don't get the deals. I don't know what that's about.
I think if it's something that you were really looking for, and if as long as you've done your research and made sure that it wasn't cheaper before, you can get a bargain, but I just don't tend to do it myself.
So some mixed reviews there. It seems some people feel that they've managed to get some bargains, others aren't so sure, others suggesting make sure you do that research, because this isn't just 1 or 2 stores that Which have looked into. This is across the board, and some real heavy hitters for Black Friday as well. The likes of Currys, John Lewis, Boots, really big retailers that are offering these deals that perhaps aren't exactly what they may seem. So Which are telling people, don't get caught up in the glitz and glamour of Black Friday. Do your research, be a bit more cynical, don't be naive, and make it sure you get the most value for your money if you're going to do Black Friday shopping this year.
Be more Sophie Reaper is what you're saying.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Stop it. We're on fire today. Be
There
more
you are.
Sophie. Hashtag.
You know, I'm so excited. I'm just wondering what she's got me.
Sophie, do you want to wrap his Christmas presents? He's looking for a willing assistant to do that. He'll pay you well.
Thank you, Sophie. To the pip. Bye-bye.
It depends what your rate is, Eamonn.
Friends, mates rates. We got Bev and we got Andrew, and they've got their programme starting at 9:30. What's on the agenda, folks?
We're talking about
Thanks,
Black
love.
Friday, actually, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Well, we, you know...
Because it's a con.
It is a con. Black Fraud Day, I think you've been
I
calling
never
it this
fell for
morning,
it
which
anyway.
is great.
I've never been
Stupid
into
American import.
See, you and we should live together.
There's a thought.
I thought
My word.
what the hell's the
American
point?
There's a
con.
sitcom.
Why do we want it over here?
Yeah, never mind Jacob Rees-Mogg's reality show.
You two
Andrew
living
and
together.
Eamonn at home.
Crikey.
Somebody's going to be listening out there and they're going to suggest it.
Netflix.
We're going to also be talking to the father of a son who died because his drink was spiked. With this change in the law to make spiking a specific offence, why do we need that?
You always assume it's young girls are being targeted. Mainly they are.
Yeah. Is it?
How extraordinary that this young lad was killed.
Yeah.
Just awful. Just surprised me it hasn't already been done. You know, why this isn't acted upon immediately.
Yeah. And also, you know, hopefully he will give us some advice as well. If you've got teenagers, what do you tell them this Christmas when they're going out as well? And this rise of IVF in single women, I think, is quite fascinating.
Actually, we had loads of views on this. I'll pass them on to you. But loads of people getting in touch saying, Jackie, for example, a child is not a commodity or a cash cow. A child is a gift of love to be loved forever. I mean, people, it's sort of split opinion.
I think it's really sad. I think it's the saddest story of the day, actually, in a way, is how many women are having to go and have IVF.
That's my take. I think there's a lot of men just don't want to have babies by 35.
And I think we're not talking to women about the fact that if you don't have babies young, your fertility is going to fall off a cliff.
There you go. We should live together, Bev. We're on the same page in that
People
one.
might pay to watch that.
2 reality shows.
Two reality shows. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much indeed. Folks, thank you very much indeed for watching today. We're going to be back tomorrow morning, same time, same place.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your GB News breakfast weather coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there will be some heavy rain pushing across southern parts later and as we go into tomorrow, but for many, today is actually going to be a drier, much calmer day than we've had of late. A good deal of sunshine around. Yes, there are some showers around first thing, especially towards the southeast. A lot of these clearing away, and elsewhere there are some showers coming in across some northern, northwestern parts, but many places staying dry and many places having lots of sunny skies. It is going to be relatively chilly for some of us, particularly towards the north. Temperatures struggling a little bit here, further south just about getting into double figures. Now, as we go through the end of the day, there will still be some clear skies around. A few showers continuing in areas exposed to the wind that's coming in from the north. Here we're likely to see a couple of showers skirting in around some parts of northern Scotland, and some strong gusty winds still towards the northeast as well. Elsewhere, a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and perhaps some feeding into parts of northwest England and North Wales too, but many places ending the day on a largely fine and clear note. However, we then have some clouds, some rain, some stronger winds pushing in from the southwest. This is due to an area of low pressure that is set to track its way along the English Channel, bringing some very heavy rain across southern counties in particular as we go overnight and into Wednesday. Likely to see totals building up, could be some difficult driving conditions first thing tomorrow morning. Further north, away from the cloud and the rain, it's going to be a chilly night, a cold night, some frost, some fog, some freezing fog patches, and these could take quite a while to clear as we go through tomorrow. Otherwise, we will say goodbye to the cloudy, wet weather that we start off with tomorrow in the south. That pushes away towards the east, so many places turning drier, perhaps a bit brighter here. Further north, the best of the sunshine, one or two showers perhaps, but generally dry. Still temperatures a little bit on the low side. After a cold, frosty start, it is going to feel chilly, despite the fact that there'll